1 of the 2024 Texas high school football season has concluded. For some teams, it revitalized the feeling of hope by breaking losing streaks or giving those young guns some much-needed confidence. For others, it was a reminder that even if you made it to the apogee a season ago, with a new start, there will always be a batch of fresh challenges. For now, it's time to kick off Week 2 of the 2024 Texas high school football season, and that means we welcome you in to the second episode this season of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight, live from the University of North Texas. Thanks for joining us. I'm a co-host, executive producer here at Dave Campbell's, Ashley Pickle, sitting alongside my other co-host. Right to my left, he is the managing editor, Mr. Greg Tepper himself. We thought we got rid of him. Unfortunately, he found his way back in.
Look, renewed for a second episode. Big get for us. Big get for Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight, but a huge slate of games on deck, and I'm just glad that we were able to come to an agreement with the third member of our team, with Ishmael Johnson, because I know it was a nasty holdout. It was a gnarly holdout, honestly, but I'm glad that we were able to come to some terms.
I never do this on a one-year deal.
Yeah, I know.
And so, I had to make sure that I was compensated market share, right, for fair. Skipped OTAs, but I'm glad we were able to iron something out.
Yeah, so. It's you, like, I see you and CD Lamb, and I'm just like, same guy.
You give them the name talent, and then they do this kind of stuff. I'll tell you, there's a lot of talent going on across the state as we check in with our Week 2 Spotlight games. These are the top 6 games that we'll be diving into all night. Let's start off with a certified prospect banger up in the DFW. The North Crowley Panthers taking on the number 1 ranked DeSoto Eagles. Out east we go. Gilmer, the Buckeyes, taking on the Bulldogs of Chapel Hill. A repeat from a year ago that was quite high scoring. Then a cross-regional matchup. The Yellow Jackets of Rockwall taking on the Cavaliers of Lake Travis. How about this one? Down in the greater Houston area, Humble, Atascocita taking on those Tigers of Katy. Then a wild classification matchup here. Gunner taking on the Coyotes of Anna. We'll get into that one for sure in just a little bit. And then at the bottom there in the greater Houston area again, Silsbee and Little Cypress Mauriceville. Very excited to see those games. So are the guys that are on the call for the broadcast, some of which we will be checking in with later to bring all of the highlights at the halftime. You've got James Tritley, Michael Silvers, Caleb Blanton, and of course everyone's favorite DCTF employee in Mr. Matt Stepp at Coppell and Waxahachie. Greg Tepper.
Yeah, it's a tough road trip there for the mighty Coppell Cowboys, the 1-0 Coppell Cowboys, the 13th ranked Coppell Cowboys. Many people are talking about them. Every time I walk out on the streets, people are saying, hey, did you hear about what Coppell did? Moved to 1-0. I would say the team that has the most buzz in Texas high school football these days. It's palpable out there on the streets.
Are we the only ones that know that he graduated from Coppell, or was that just like very transparent in that?
Just let him keep going.
You know what they say about Cowboy Fight guys? It never dies.
It never dies. Clearly, Greg Tepper is the leader of that. But as we mentioned, all of those incredible spotlight games that we're diving into, and we want to open it up with the opening drive. We're going to walk you through all of those spotlight games and tell you, Tep, why these games matter.
Yeah, we want to set the stage here and the stakes of why these games necessarily matter and why we're spotlighting them, what we're watching for, what you should be watching for throughout the course of the game, or the course of the evening, and why these games have lasting implications moving forward in the 2024 Texas high school football season, starting with the big game down there on I-20, the top 5 showdown between the North Crowley Panthers and the DeSoto Eagles. North Crowley, the number 5 team in the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Associated Press rankings, taking on the DeSoto Eagles, the 2-time defending 6A Division II state champions. DeSoto, it's really our first look at them. DeSoto played a team from Georgia last week and just dismantled them, pulled them limb from limb in a 70-0 win. We will finally get to see what happens when I think they play a team in their weight class. And for North Crowley, a program on the rise, a program we have high hopes for. Can Ray Gates and company get what would be the biggest win in program history since they brought home a state championship in 2003?
All right, let's scooch on over to the east. Go to Tyler, Texas, with Bulldog Stadium between Gilmer and Tyler Chapel Hill, two teams that were on the opposite ends of the division spectrum at the state championships last year. Gilmer, number 5 in 4A D2, the reigning state champions. Of course, Alan Metzel leading them to their first title since Jeff Traylor was the head coach there. Tyler Chapel Hill, the number 2 team in 4A Division 1. Jeff Reardon and those guys, Ricky Stewart at running back. Demetrius Brisbane at quarterback. This is kind of their last year. They've started since they were freshmen. People have been wanting them to get Chapel Hill to the pinnacle. This is their last chance to do it before they're off to, I believe, Baylor and Texas respectively. Can they do it against the reigning state champs? We'll see.
And we take a look at that big-time cross-regional matchups. It is the Yellow Jackets of Rockwall representing the DFW, traveling down I-35 to Cavalier Stadium to take on the Lake Travis Cavaliers. Again, big time, anytime we have a big-time Austin team play the DFW, and of course, all eyes on the quarterback showdown tonight. Chasten Ditta has been exceptional after coming in late last season for the Cavaliers. He's going up against a name that is familiar around Rockwall. Landon Locke, younger brother of former quarterback Braden Locke. He's at Wisconsin. Landon's heading up there next year. Should be exciting from the gunslingers of those two. And then not to mention a quietly good defensive game. Not something we say often with these two high-scoring affairs. We're interested to watch that go down tonight.
Yeah, and Braden Locke's got a big fan club as well. Let's go to the Houston area where there's a massive game down there at Legacy Stadium in Katy. A top 11 matchup, I believe, between Atascocita and Katy. Two juggernauts, absolute powerhouses in the Houston area. Atascocita's got that 1-2 punch of Carde Mack at the quarterback spot taking over for Zion Brown, who's now off to the next level, and Torrey Blaylock, who is an Oklahoma commit at running back. He is the real stinking deal. They're going to give him the ball early and often. Katy last week in their opener against Dickinson, the defense, usually the calling card for Katy, kind of got touched up a little bit by Dickinson. Can they sturdy themselves against what's going to be an outstanding Atascocita ball club?
All right, let's pull it back up here for my last game. Anna taking on Gunner. How about this? A 5A and a 4A. This is quite the disparity here. 3A, excuse me. The reigning 3A Division II state champion in the Gunner Tigers taking on the reigning 4A Division I state champions going up to 5A Division II. Sorry, reclassification happened.
Yeah,
by the way, this is going to be Gunner's by far their best test probably they've ever seen. I'm not joking. Ziondre Williams might be one of the best quarterbacks they've seen, for Anna, of course. But as we know with Jake Fazell and this Gunner team, they know how to reload. They know how to replace these guys like Walker Overman, like Cannon Limburg. Of course, who are those new names, right? Preston Tarpley, I know, is that quarterback now, but who are the other names? And can they give Anna, a 5A team, 2 classifications up? Can they give them a run for their money?
And finally, we round it all out, heading back down to the greater Houston area. It is the Tigers of Silsbee's taking on the Bears of Little Cypress Mauriceville. Fantastic Bear logo. We were talking about it earlier. Equally matching a fantastic team. So Southeast Texas small school showdown. Not a whole lot of small schools down in that area, so this is a marquee matchup when it comes to the smaller classification. Silsbee, how do they look without superstar Draylon Miller, a guy that averaged over 23 yards per reception last year? He was the heartbeat of that Silsbee Tigers squad. Has graduated. Can they reload in that with only 3 starters returning on both sides? And then, of course, Little Cypress Mauriceville. Do not count out Eric Peavy's squad in exceptional play down at the line. All eyes will be there talking about this game. So there you go, guys. Our opening drive, the 6 big-time spotlight games. Very, very excited for that. All right, coming up next, an absolute heater happened last night in the DFW. Lewisville, Byron Nelson, you want to keep it here, but before we go there, we have our Texas State Technical Play of the Week from week 1 last week. Let's go ahead and take a look at what that Texas State Technical Play of the Week was, presented by Texas State Technical College. P&G and Klein Oak here for you, Tepper.
You're going to see Klein Oak throwing for the end zone, and an unbelievable catch here. Full extension from Johnny Craven. Goes up and gets it. An outstanding grab, good enough to be our Texas State Technical College Technical Play of the Week. Coming up here in a moment, highlights from Thursday. Keep it here. Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight.
Want to talk Texas high school football with your 2 favorite dorks? Join television's Greg Tepper and Ashley Gizmo Pickle every Monday and Thursday at noon on TexasFootball.com. Texas Football Today, the flagship program of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. It's the same analysis, insight, review, and preview that you've come to know and love. Talking about Texas high school football and college football all across the Lone Star State.
In a college football world that's increasingly nationalized, Dave Campbell's Texas Football presents The Republic of Football, the only comprehensive podcast on all 13 college teams in Texas. Live every Tuesday at noon on the Dave Campbell's YouTube page, Twitter, Facebook pages, and publishing on Apple Podcasts and Spotify shortly thereafter, host Ishmael Johnson leads the gang in discussing the biggest college football stories from the state. You get coverage of the SEC, Big 12, ACC, AAC, CUSA, and Sunbelt, but with a little Texas twist. No one has their finger on the pulse like senior college writer MC Mike Craven, staff writer Carter Yates, and everyone's favorite Malpal producer Mallory Hartley. Come spend your lunch break, your car ride, or gym session with the Republic of Football. Live on Tuesdays at noon at TexasFootball.com and published everywhere you get your podcast shortly thereafter.
Are you ready to kick off your Wednesdays with a fresh, fun, and fearless take on football? Tune in to Women Talking Football, hosted by the dynamic duo of Dave Campbell's Texan Live, Ashley Pickle, and Mallory Hartley. Every Wednesday at 12 p.m., join us on TexasFootball.com as we deep dive into every corner of the Lone Star State's football scene. From exclusive insights with coaches' wives to on-the-ground reports from across Texas, we've got the inside scoop you won't get anywhere else. Get ready for a game-changing experience where the ladies bring their A-game and you might just find yourself saying WTF in the best way possible. Women Talking Football, where sports analysis meets sass and expertise. You can't miss it.
Want to go deep on Texas high school football? Check out Tep and Step, the premium high school football podcast from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Each week, Greg Tepper and Matt Stepp take you inside Texas high school football like nobody else, breaking down the biggest games and the biggest storylines from all across the state. Want to know more about Texas high school football than the guy at your water cooler? Go to TexasFootball.com and become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber so you can get Tep and Step in your podcast feed. Or tune in every Friday at noon at TexasFootball.com for premium insights from Texas high school football experts Matt Stepp and Greg Tepper.
Welcome back to Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight. So Justin, Texas is probably best known for being the home of Texas Motor Speedway, the NASCAR race. You know, goes real fast around that track. Well, last night we had our different kind of track meet going on in Justin as Byron Nelson welcomed in the Fightin' Farmers of Lewisville in must-see Thursday night action, and boy, did it live up to the billing. Let's go to the highlights live from Northwest ISD Stadium out there in Justin, Texas, where two teams with high-flying offenses went after it. First quarter, Lewisville on the move. Sophomore running back DJ Martin hauls in this 13-yard touchdown pass from sophomore quarterback Trey Williams, puts the Fightin' Farmers up early, 7-0. Now second quarter, same score. This time Byron Nelson bounces back. Senior running back Tucker James going to take the handoff, follow his blockers, get in for the score. Missed extra point makes this a 7-6 Lewisville lead. Still in the second quarter, Lewisville going to have an answer. This is DJ Martin again from Trey Williams. He's going to swing it out there, follow his blockers, in for the score, 14-6 Fightin' Farmers. Back comes Byron Nelson. Are you sensing a trend here? This is going to be Grant Bizchak, their outstanding quarterback, dropping back and looking deep. Finds his man, Leo Almanza, in the end zone for a score, makes it 14-12. And Byron Nelson still chasing that extra point. Now into the second half. It's still 14-12. That's when Lewisville junior running back Tanell Hill is going to plunge in for the score for a 4-yard touchdown. Puts Lewisville up 9 points, 21-12. Now into the fourth quarter. Same score. Byron Nelson with an answer. Bizjack looking. Takes the snap. Play action. Fires to the end zone. Has his man Tucker James for the score. Closes the gap between 21-18. Just couldn't get any closer than that. Still in the fourth quarter, this is going to be DJ Martin. Finds a seam, bounces to the outside, in for the score, makes us 28-18 late in the fourth. This ball game is over, right? Byron Nelson, other plans. Bizjack looking, finding Leo Almanza, escaping pressure, keeping his eyes downfield, finds his man, toe tap, in for the score, closes the gap to 28-25. Now, under a minute to play, 28-25, Lewisville clinging to a lead, needing a defensive score to bring it home. Instead, it's Bizjack faking it, has a man deep, Almanza, 54 yards, jackpot. Byron Nelson, their first lead of the game, their only lead of the game, the only lead that mattered. 32-28 over Lewisville in a thriller. A huge win for the Bobcats of Byron Nelson. Let's get reaction from Northwest ISD Stadium.
Hey there, everyone. It's Grayson Ouellette and Cody Barfnick here. We just finished broadcasting tonight's game between the Lewisville Fighting Farmers and the Byron Nelson Bobcats in a Week 2 non-district matchup from Northwest ISD Stadium in Justin, Texas. Cody, the Bobcats come out on top with a final of 32-28 when they trailed for about 95% of that game against, although a beat-up and young, but a very gritty Lewisville unit. Senior quarterback Grant Bizjack and senior wide receiver Leo Almanza connect 3 times tonight on different occasions throughout the game, including the game-winning touchdown pass. There's a reason why that team has won 15 consecutive regular season games, and they proved why tonight against Lewisville.
Yeah, I think a lot of Lewisville fans thought that the game was pretty much over when Lewisville went up 10 with about 6.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, but the rest of the way, it was the Grant Bizjack and Leo Almanza show. Lewisville secondary didn't have an answer for him, and for 3.5 quarters, the Lewisville defense, I think in the way they shut down Byron Nelson's high-powered offense, they kind of stole the show, but experience won out at the end of the day, and Byron Nelson got a gritty comeback win late in the fourth quarter.
Byron Nelson's got a lot of tough opponents on their schedule. Their next 2 weeks are South Lake Carroll and Euless Trinity, and they had some struggles tonight against a young Lewisville unit led by sophomore quarterback Trey Williams, who did have some growing pains tonight, but there were also 7 starters out tonight for the Lewisville Fighting Farmers. They certainly struggled in key aspects of the game, which ultimately decided the final score. I think it was, like you said, I think it was a battle of experience at the end of the day, and that grit and that determination by that Byron Nelson unit is really what paid off for them at the end of the night.
Yeah, I think experience did win out at the end of the night. We talked a little bit about that in the post game, as Byron Nelson has experience across the board. They did graduate a big group of seniors from that 13-1 team a year ago, but I think if you look at Lewisville, this is probably going to be something that helps them along the way. You play with a good team. Your sophomores get a lot of experience, especially your sophomore quarterback, and when you have another tough game next week against Rockwall, you need all the experience you can get, especially a 5-6A slate where you got Denton Geyer and a tough Lewisville ISD slate as well.
Byron Nelson advances to 2-0. Lewisville now 1-1 after 2 weeks of non-district play. Lewisville's next matchup at home against Rockwall. Byron Nelson, in the meantime, going to be hitting the road to take on South Lake Carroll. Final score over here again, Byron Nelson over Lewisville, 32-28, the final from Northwest ISD Stadium. Back to you guys.
Thanks to Grayson and Cody there for their courage and that report there. A huge win for Byron Nelson over Lewisville in what was really one of the games of the night, Pickle, and back and forth it went on Dave Campbell's Texan Live, and one of the more entertaining games we've had on a Thursday night, this season.
I was locked in. You knew the explosive speed that Lewisville has as at the skill positions, and so to see not only, and I'll let Ish talk about the Byron Nelson offense because I know he is dying to do this, but I was very, very impressed by their defense to be able to hold a Lewisville program to that, just with the amount of skill players they have. They have some veteran players. To be able to do that was really exceptional, but we would be remiss not to talk about the man at the helm. You're the one that started the hive. I'll let you have this one. Not again, but for this one time, I'll let you have this.
What a win for the Grant Bizjack contingency.
Listen. Last year around this time, me and Carter went to go see Byron Nelson take on McKinney Boyd. And they were a senior-heavy team last year, best season ever, of course, a year ago. But they had a backup quarterback named Grant Bizjack, and he had some of the most electrifying highlight plays. When the pocket broke down, he ran for like 15 yards. I think he averaged like 10 yards a carry for roughly 6 or 7 carries. Seeing him take over that offense now, right? Having somebody like Leo Almanza, Baylor commit, as his safety blanket, as we saw 3 touchdowns to him alone. But seeing him grow and mature, by the way, brother of Finley Bizjack, who's currently a freshman All-American, or freshman All-Conference player at Butler, basketball player, Byron Nelson a couple years ago. He has athletics in his genes, right? And as we saw a couple of those plays and a couple of those throws, you just saw the gifts, right? And so this is a guy who's going to continue just to get better and better. Well, again, a young Byron Nelson team, I believe they may have returned 8 total starters on both sides of the ball, right? 4 combined. So again, this is a team that's going to learn and get better, but I'm so glad that he got this breakout moment on Texan Live to where everybody can see, okay, this guy's a gamer.
Yeah, there were a couple plain and plain and simple, a couple big boy throws that Grant Bischak made when they needed them, right?
Yeah.
Final minute of the game, game's on the line, you got to put it on him. And I think there's one of those things that we keep an eye on, especially when you're talking about high school football. You're seeing receivers running open, right? You're seeing a guy get behind the defense. In the NFL, that's automatic, right? You watch Patrick Mahomes last night. That's automatic. He's going to put it on him.
Yeah.
In high school, that's a skill. You got to make sure you don't miss him. And Grant Bischak, I thought, really, really proved himself last night in a big, big win.
I think we would be remiss not to talk about Tucker Parks, too. He is an exceptional just presence there on the outside. He adds another target. You talk about Almanza and everything that he did last night. Keep an eye on Tucker Parks. As he continues to develop, he has been fantastic for that team, and I think it's only up from here. Also, if you're a recruiting hound, he has a great build to him, too, that I think he'll expand on. So Tucker Parks deserves all the flowers for last night as well.
Yep. On the other side of the break, we will get to the other Thursday night game down in the Houston area, Willis taking on Klein Collins. But before we do, of course, after week 1, we had to give away our first ever Mr. Texas Football of the new season. Mr. Texas Football Player of the Week, drum roll. Woodville's Tate Hunter,
Let's
defensive
go.
end. Look, let me just read off some of these stats real quick. We had 14 tackles. We had how many? 92-yard fumble return for a touchdown, 3 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, and by the way, he has an interception as well. So, I mean, he did it all for Woodville. Congrats to Tate Hunter for winning week 1's Mr. Texas Football Player of the Week. And we will be back after this.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Texas Army National Guard are honored to present the Coach of the Week Award, celebrating one head coach in 7 different classifications. That's 6A all the way down to 6-man, and of course, private school every single week. Think your head coach deserves some recognition? Nominate them under our weekly Twitter and Facebook post. Those will come out Friday at 10:30 p.m., Saturday 8:30 p.m., and Sunday at 6:30 p.m. That's facebook.com/Dave Campbell's or at DCTF on Twitter. Thank you to Texas Army National Guard for helping spotlight the hard work and dedication of high school head coaches across Texas.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Ozarka will announce 7 Team of the Week winners for 14 weeks of the Texas high school football season from Class 6A down to 6-man, and including private schools. Head to texasfootball.com, go to the awards tab, and find Ozarka Team of the Week to see this season's winners and vote for your program to be named. Winners are announced every Wednesday on Twitter and Facebook.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Panini America are teaming up this season to honor the best high school quarterbacks across the state of Texas. 7 quarterbacks, 1 in each classification, 1A through 6A in private schools, will be named Quarterback of the Week and will receive a virtual Panini America trading card to commemorate their performance. Check out which outstanding quarterback was selected each Tuesday morning on the Dave Campbell's Twitter and Facebook pages.
Your power is unstoppable. And with us cheering you on, there's no limit to where it can take you. Baylor Scott and White Health, the power to live better.
Welcome back to Texas Football Tonight. If you are a college football fan, you may know that DJ Lagway is starting his first game. True freshman, reigning Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year, starting his first game for the University of Florida tomorrow. But how about his alma mater? They played last night, the Willis Wildcats. Let's go down to Klein Memorial Stadium to see how they did against Klein Collins in that Thursday night affair. How do they do when you lose a Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year? We start here. It's going to be quarterback dropping back. Oh, my goodness. Finds a wide open man in the end zone. That is going to be Jack Emerson to Jermaine Bishop on a 31-yard score. How about this? The Willis Wildcat defense maybe getting in on the action. Oh, no. It's going to be Kawan Gathers fumbling for Klein Collins as Willis picks it up, and it's all Wildcats so far in the first quarter. We're going to keep it here in the first quarter as the defense gets hyped up deep in the red zone. That's going to be Dalen Robinson punching it in. Look at that, fighting his way to the end zone. 1-yard touchdown. It is 14-0 Willis. And look, if this isn't a sign of things to come, Kawan Gathers again. Oh, no, he fumbles again. Klein Collins cannot keep the ball. Willis Wildcat defense stepping up in a big way. They get the ball at the 35. And of course, still in the first quarter here, deep in the red zone. Let's do it again. This time, Terry Lawrence from 4 yards out, 21-0 Willis. DJ Lagway, who? Just kidding. He's really awesome, but they're doing pretty good as well without him this year. All right, let's go to the second quarter. It's going to be Braden Scoggin for Klein Collins, rolling to the right, looking, designed run. Look at this. Oh, there he goes. Squeaks through the defense 13-yard run to get Klein Collins on the board. Let's stay here in the second quarter. Willis, you get it. It's been a sign. Jermaine Bishop wide open. How do you let him get that far? 58 yards. Jack Emerson's probably not going to get as he walks into the end zone. Look at the swagger there. I don't even need a jog. Jack Emerson is probably not going to get an easier throw than that. All right, Klein Collins. Let's see. Fourth quarter. We're skipping all the way ahead here. 33-7 as Jermaine Bishop, the man who's done it all, jogs a little bit, but then no, I'm going to hit to the left. I'm going to juke around. Let me just find some blockers here. Get all the way to the right. Outrun number 14. Good effort, though. 64 yards. The Willis Wildcats are going to romp in this one. 40-7. I ask again, Ashley Pickle, Greg Tepper, DJ Lagway, who? But before we do, Trevor Bullard had some thoughts.
Jermaine Bishop Jr. is really freaking fast. Just saw the highlights. Yeah, 3 total touchdowns. Got the scoring started, had that disrespectful touchdown to go up 28-7, and then after the safety, the punt return just for good measure. Outscored Klein Collins himself. Only a junior too. That's the crazy thing. Klein Collins. I think the biggest takeaway you can have for this game is ball security. They fumbled it. They fumbled it 3 times. Had a punt blocked, a safety, and then a pick. Like, you can't do it when you turn the ball over that much. They moved the ball just butterfingers, quite honestly. I mean, the rain didn't help. You just got to hold on to the ball. But Willis, awfully impressive. I really thought, after the kind of scare a little bit against Aldine Davis, and they came out emphatically, beat a good Klein Collins team. Drops to 0-2, and Willis isn't just DJ Lagway. He's gone now, and Jack Emerson seems to have stepped into the role, and he looked great tonight. Jermaine Bishop Jr., he is that dude. Also, Jalen Mickens, he's not bad either. Willis, they are really fun to watch, and big win for them.
All right, as Trevor mentioned, last week they had a scare against Aldine Davis, only beating them 30-23. All of a sudden people are like, oh, DJ Lagway's not there. How much did he carry that team last year? How much pressure was on Jack Emerson to come out and just absolutely put on a show? Jermaine Bishop, of course, being his main target, 40-7. I mean, come on, you lose a player like DJ Lagway, and they're still looking pretty good, 2-0 now in the season.
Yeah, I think this is a real statement win there from Willis to prove that they're more than just one player, and they're more than just 1 year. And I think that what you saw from Jack Emerson last night was really sharp. This is a guy who's now completing 76% of his passes on the young season. Pretty darn good, right? 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and all coaches are going to tell you, just take care of the football. We'll figure out everything else, take care of the football. Jack Emerson has done that. Of course, they've still got some weapons around him. I thought what you saw from Willis last night, awfully impressive. Klein Collins, they're now 0-2 on the season, okay? 0-2 on the season, and they have losses to College Station and to Willis on the year. I have some concerns about their defense right now. This is a team that started number 16 in the 6A rankings in Dave Campbell's Texas football, now 0-2. And by the way, district play starts next week. They got to figure it out before district play. 0-2 is fine as long as you start winning next week, but time has run out for them to figure it out because now it's going to start costing you in a big way.
Yeah, 0-2, especially to 2 teams of that caliber too. Like you said, College Station, now obviously with Willis, who we saw last night, is a valuable team. They weren't just DJ Lagway. Trent Miller has done such a good job, along with Jermaine Bishop, of getting them to that point. But you're exactly right. You have to start thinking about, okay, where are the areas that we've seen lacking? Defense, definitely one of them. That secondary is going to have to figure out how to stop the game in the air. But then secondly, you saw how many times that offense for Klein Collins slipped up and fumbled that ball. That would have been an entirely different ball game if you took turnovers out of the pitchers. I was watching the game all night. Trevor said it best, some butterfingers happening there, and that's really all it was. You have to shore up keeping your hands on the ball. You're fixing to go through a gauntlet of a district. They're hard-hitting teams, and if they're knocking the ball loose, you will continue to lose those games. So you fix some slight things. I think Klein Collins is still a good team. You shore up a couple of those uncharacteristic mistakes, get back to it. Season's not lost by any stretch, but you're right. The clock is ticking on that.
It's a tough district, right? They're in with that Magnolia schools. They're in with Klein Kane. They're in with the Tomball schools. Like, it's a tough district there. In District 15, 6A, they've got to figure it out. For Willis, though, let me ask you, like, this is a team now 2-0 to start the year. They had that week 1 kind of scare against Aldine Davis. You mentioned it. I still think District 14 or District 13 rather. I still think the Woodlands is probably the favorite, but like, I think they're going to be knocking on the door. I think that right now what we've seen so far through 2 weeks is promising enough to tell me that they're certainly not going away.
Right. I mean, next week they'll be favored against Caney Creek most likely. And I could say the Woodlands will be favored the week after that, but I would have probably said heading into this week that Klein Collins was favored. Or I would have had them favored. So, again, proving people wrong, or like maybe my preconceived notions of what they were or what Klein Collins was or what the Woodlands are, right? It's kind of starting to fall more into place about what these teams actually are. Maybe we now know Willis may be on that level of the Woodlands that maybe we didn't originally think, but I can't say now that this isn't a Willis team, like you mentioned, that can compete for that district, that can be knocking with the Woodlands right now.
By the way, for all we talk about the Willis offense, give some flowers to the defense.
And that's not something we talk about often, honestly, with Willis. When's the last time that we've brought up the fact that their defense were forcing all of those turnovers?
They like last year, in a lot of ways, like DJ Lagway kind of like outscored their defensive problems. Sure. Right? If they can start playing defense like that, sky's the limit for them. They're going to look really good.
So those were 2 games that we always had our eyes on Thursday night. But allow me, before we move on into our Friday slate, which scores across the state coming up next, allow me to introduce you to the call of the night from Thursday. Hang with me here. The Colony and Frisco Wakeland. Okay, pretty decent game up in the DFW. This one, a certified banger that went into overtime. The Colony drove down, scored a touchdown, and here was the decision time. In week 1 of the season, or week 2 of the season rather, where were you going to go? Were you going to kick the extra point to send it in a double overtime, or were you going to push all your cards out and say, hey, let's go for the 2-point conversion? Here's the call.
Carson Cox gets the snap. Looks like the defense was offsides. It's a free play. Cox looks in the back of the end zone. Is it caught? There's a wrestling match in the end zone. It's caught. The Cougars win. The Cougars win. In crazy fashion, no other way to close out this game. The Cougars win.
Takis is the presenting sponsor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Sustainability Champions Award, spotlighting influential kids looking to pursue a career focused on social, environmental, and economic well-being for our future. Be sure to check out this week's Spotlight Game of the Week, where we'll be spotlighting 2 Sustainability Champions Award winners. Thank you to Takis for your support of the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Sustainability Champions Award. For more information, visit texasfootball.com.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football is proud to partner with Sport Tyler to award the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose National Player of the Week, which recognizes the top offensive player in Division I college football, who also exhibits the enduring characteristics that define Earl Campbell: integrity, performance, teamwork, sportsmanship, drive, community, and tenacity. It all leads up to the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award, announced in January. Congratulations to this week's winner of the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose National Player of the Week. For more information, visit earlcampbellaward.com.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Higginbotham have teamed up to find the most driven team in Texas. This fall, 10 finalists will be highlighted throughout the season, with one student athlete from each team receiving the Most Driven Scholar Athlete Award for their leadership in the classroom, along with $1,000 in tuition assistance. In November, all 10 communities will rally to vote on TexasFootball.com, competing for the title of the most driven team in Texas. The school that rallies the most online votes will receive a $10,000 donation to their school, thanks to the support of Higginbotham. To learn more, visit TexasFootball.com/mostdriventeam.
Hey DFW residents, get your grocery essentials in minutes, not hours or days, with Wing Drone Delivery. Forget about last-minute trips to the store when you need things like cereal for breakfast before school, medicine for a cold, or snacks for a movie night. Wing's drones get you quick, no-contact delivery in as fast as 15 minutes. Say goodbye to last-minute grocery runs and say hello to more of your valuable time. Sign up today.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight, rolling on a week 2 party here at Texas High School Football. I'm your friend Greg Tepper. So down in the Austin area, big game tonight between Cedar Park and Vandergrift, two teams very familiar with the big stage. Let's go to the highlights of these one early, courtesy of our good friends down there at Vipe. This game is going to be a huge matchup between two Austin area powers. We're going to start off with Cedar Park quarterback David Cooper, going to take the snap, swing it out to his running back Cameron Graham, and watch his moves, gets to the outside and hits the Jets all the way in for the score. It's a long touchdown, and that will put Cedar Park up early in this one. But Vandergrift would have a response in the form of Thomas Buechler. Thomas Buechler going to catch the ball on the outside, break through a tackle. The hit stick will not be denied, gets in for the score. And a response there, 7-7 is your score. And then more from Vandergrift. This time, quarterback Miles Teodecki. We were wondering what their quarterback situation was going to look like, but the lefty throws it up. Watch this grab, George Farley! Tap the toe, you only need 1 foot in high school, it's good. And Vandergrift up 14-7 early in this one down there in Austin. Some 6-man football scores. Big game in 1A Division II. Jayton taking on Klondike, all over Lamesa Klondike right now. Benjamin without Grayson Rigdon, still looking the part, 18-6 early up on Follette. Sydney and Eden locked in a tight one. Whit Harrell and Hart, a game to keep an eye on. Covington early lead over the Dragons of Iredell, and Richland Springs playing Bryan St. Joseph up 40. That game 41. That game may not last too much longer.
Have a good feeling that one will get called at the half. But there you go, some score updates across 1A Division I, and now it is time for the thing that you came to Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight for. After we get you your 1A Division
That's what people came to hear for.
Honestly,
1A Division I. Yeah. We're here for 1A Division I. I need to see what was happening with Abbott and Bynum.
Okay. That is at 0, but how about this? A state-ranked matchup here. Whiteface number 4 taking on the number 6-ranked Happy Cowboys, and only a 10-point game there. That one is tasty.
Westbrook and Jonesboro. Can Westbrook bounce back after a week 1 loss? That's interesting to see. May up on Oglesby. Oglesby could be dropping to 0-2, but remember that's a team that's 1A Division II, taking on 1A Division I in May.
Punching up both weeks.
Absolutely. And Buena Vista up early on Union Hill out there in East Texas. That's what people came to see. I don't know what you were talking about.
Issues that would, are you excited now? Like, do you feel like your time here
you got, like,
you can be done now?
No, I can leave now. So
yeah, okay.
So, yeah. I got the Y scores, that was it.
I call his seat. He's got the comfy seat. Okay. He's got the comfy chair.
All right, I'm going to head out. Yeah. All right, don't head out. We hope you will stay here with us on Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight, because guess what? We have game action going on all across the Lone Star State as we start to dive into those games, and there's no better way to do that than the quad box.
Let's go.
Looks like a quick score there coming from that Rockwall and Lake Travis game. You're looking at North Crowley and DeSoto, the Giants 6A matchup. Silsbee and LCM down there, and then at the half, how about that one? Katy up 17-14 on Atascocita.
Interesting. You know, that was a game that Katy looked like they were in command at 14-0 early into that one, but Atascocita has clawed back as Silsbee looking to get into the end zone there is going to be tackled inside the 10-yard line. Look at North Crowley.
Yeah.
Putting an early statement against DeSoto, knowing that they will not go quietly. It's the first points that DeSoto has allowed this year. But again, we're going to find out so much. We're going to find out way more this week as Keldon Ryan, the new quarterback, takes off with it. We're going to find out so much more about DeSoto this week than we did all of last week, simply because that team from Georgia, I mean this in a nice way, but like they just didn't belong on the field with DeSoto.
Yeah,
There's not many teams that do, but like it was very evident.
Right, like DeSoto is a ranked team nationally. Right, like this is it. You can't just kind of pick anyone from Texas and be like, all right, well, let's play this team, right? You just happen to pick the best team. So as we see at the bottom, Silsby LCM looks like that's Silsby. Can't see who quite that is, but Silsby crossing the line there.
Pulled in a score, or pulled in the extra 2-point conversion.
Great game down there, going on down there.
And then the new one down the bottom right, Aledo and Lancaster. Aledo both teams looking to bounce back from week 1 losses as the new quarterback for Aledo taking off with it. This is it's interesting to see, I think these are two teams that are entering this game 0-1, right? Looks like field goal attempt here for Aledo. Two teams that enter this game 0-1. For Lancaster, coming off the loss to North Crowley, I feel pretty good about them. I feel about the same that I did beforehand. I think they were competitive against it. What's funny is that, and I think this is because of where the standard is for Aledo, they lose to a good Denton Guyer team, now state ranked in 6A, and we're like, what's wrong with Aledo?
Exactly. It speaks to the powerhouse that they've built out there. I mean, any time, and we talked so much in the early part of the season about all of these different cross-classification games happening. We just mentioned it even in the 1A Division I scores where Oglesby might start off the year 0-2, and it's because they're punching up to these massive teams. I'm sure we'll hit a lot of that in the Gunner and Anna game, but for this one, a team like Aledo is not one that it doesn't matter who they're playing. If they lose, it sends off those shockwaves.
Yeah, they are one of those teams that if and when they lose, it's headlines. Same thing with the team we're seeing here with North Shore, right? Making the trip up to Crowley to play a good Crowley team, a team that's got high hopes there in Crowley ISD. One of the things that I think is interesting about this North Shore team, which looked so good in their season opening win over South Oak Cliff, you're up early 14-7. One of the weird questions about North Shore, if you remember from years ago, is that they never left the Houston area.
Right.
They were a team that their first game in 2018 when they went on the Hail Mary, I think we're going to get a timeout here. One of the games that we had, or one of the questions we had was what happens when they leave the Houston area?
Sure.
Obviously they came away with the win, but like now that feels like something that the coaching staff there is making a concerted effort to be like, no, we're going to make these road trips to get used to it.
It's almost like, I mean, are you a fan of the Rocky franchise?
I am.
Okay, so it's almost like when Drago is kind of training for Rocky, but he can't fight Rocky exactly, so he goes after Apollo. And then he kind of goes after these other sparring partners. And so it's like, go after South Oak Cliff, go after Crowley. And it's like, you're just kind of waiting for Duncanville. Like, they're trying to train themselves to get ready for that physicality because, like you mentioned, they don't play those DFW teams until the state championship or until the semi or whatever, right, if they get a round before that. And so finally, they know they got bullied last year by Duncanville, so they need to get up to that speed and up to that level and used to that physicality. And if they can go blow for blow with Sauk and then blow for blow with Crowley, like, okay, cool, they're ready. They can now play their district slate and be like, all right, a couple months later down the line, we're ready for the physicality of Duncanville.
And then how about Crowley stepping up to the plate and saying, you want to come play us?
Let's
Absolutely.
Go. Let's go.
You drive up 45 and you come out here and play us. And that's a swagger that Carlos Lynn has implemented at that Crowley program. As we take a look here at Link Travis and Rockwall in very early strike there by the Yellow Jackets.
Interesting here is Rockwall, going on the road. Remember, bit of a long road trip for the Jackets. Trey Brooks and company looking to make a statement here. This would certainly be that statement. Again, Lake Travis, I know they have not contended for state championships since, 2017, 2018 was the last time? Was the last time they made it to a state championship game. But they're still a brand name program. And this year's Lake Travis team does look like a contender, especially with that young man, Chaston Ditta, firing across the middle. Caught, touchdown, Lake Travis.
Wow.
Hauls it in.
That'll do it.
Impressive throw there from Chaston Ditta. Hits his man in stride to trim the margin there. Let's now bounce over to DFW, back to that huge top matchup of Class 6A powers, as North Crowley taking on DeSoto, and Keldon Ryan, the zone read keeper. Mega Man miss, gets to the edge, gets to the end zone. Touchdown DeSoto.
Virginia Tech fans will love that.
Keldon Ryan looking the part. And there's so much, I think, pressure on Keldon Ryan. Because DJ Bailey is not walking through that door. And for all we want to talk about, like, prospects, right? He was never a 5-star prospect. But what DJ Bailey was was a winner and a leader. And I think for Keldon Ryan, as much as you're seeing those outstanding playmaking ability, you talk to Claude Mathis, what he's going to look for him is, I need you to be a leader of this team.
I was just going to say, that right there is the key, because that is a team that has so many weapons on every single side of the ball. It is amazing that Claude Mathis can get that number of individual star players to all work in sync. That's a lot harder of a job than you think that it might be. Obviously, it helps to have the 5 stars. It helps to have all that, but that also has some ego attached to it. It also has some, level of competitiveness around it. And so the fact that he can make them all do that, you need one player, and specifically in your quarterback, to step up and be that leader. And Claude has found a way, Coach Mathis, to be able to make that happen.
Tiger Ryden, Dalen Singleton, Bowie Feaster, Keelan Abrams, they're loaded. But, you got to put it all together.
Yeah, and I'll say this. You mentioned it. Keldon Ryan is not DJ Bailey, but I think what as you saw on that highlight there, what he is able to do is he's able to do designed runs a little bit better, right? Bailey could run, but he was a drop back passer who could move around a little bit. Keldon Ryan is a dual threat quarterback, and as you saw there, it adds a little bit. He's not just relying on Tiger Ryden in the run game. He's like, okay, let's change this offense up a little bit. Let me adjust to where maybe we're not throwing it 40, 50 times a game. Maybe cut that in half, but you add 10 to 15 designed runs for Keldon Ryan, and then Tiger Ryden, of course, can get the rest of the load, and you may just be set.
I want you to think about a zone read situation with Keldon Ryan, if he's able to run like that.
Pick your poison.
Tiger Ryden.
Pick your poison, man.
That is going to be borderline unstoppable, but we got a good game down there on I-20 with DeSoto and North Crowley.
We absolutely do. And how about we bounce down to the Houston area? A big matchup happening there. Manville, the Mavericks, taking on the Eagles of Barbers Hill. We have highlights coming in from down there. Carl Absek versus Kirk Martin. And this one will start off just
teams.
like this. A bad snap. It's going to go over the head. A turnover on downs gives Manville the ball. Kenneth Hayes, he'll take the ball, makes a cut, pushes his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Manville. On the next kickoff, here we go. Kick is up.
More special teams.
It is going, and it is dropped. Barbers Hill all over the place. Scooped up by Manville. How about the field position there? Then Manville with the ball. Quarterback Jackson Hamilton. He fakes it, airs it out. Touchdown, Manville. Antone Wilder taking that one straight to the house.
Let's go down southeast Texas. Sinton taking on Port Lavaca Calhoun. Tristan Hansen. This is 4th and 2. Takes it up the middle for a 5-yard touchdown. Gives the Pirates of Sinton a lead. Mike Troutman going to love that very calmly, though. Then Micah Green is going to be on the punt return. We only show special teams on this show for one of two reasons. One of two reasons. Either a turnover or a touchdown. Guess which one this is? Micah Green! Great return there, and that would put them in business because Sinton would not let that punt return go to waste. Derek Garcia cut in the backfield, get in for the score, puts the Pirates up 14-0 over Port Lavaca Calhoun. Huge game down there in southeast Texas as we continue to whip around games all across the state here on Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight. A reminder that you can watch a lot of these games live right now. If you don't want to listen to us talk, I don't know why you wouldn't, but you can go to TexanLive.com and watch dozens and dozens of live Texas high school football games right now and every week, Ashley.
Every single week, over 1,900 games a year. One of the games that everyone, every single year has circled on their calendar is Humble, Atascocita, and Katy. And right now we are joined by the man at the helm. It is Michael Silvers and Dave Felicio. Guys, welcome in. We are so excited to have you in. Go ahead, break it down for us. What are you seeing from what was sure to be a certified banger heading into the second half?
Yeah, we expected a heavyweight fight. Last year these two teams played to an 8-point game in Humble. This year it is a 3-point game at halftime. Katy jumped out to a 14-0 lead. Perfect 2 for 2 on offense, 2 possessions, 2 touchdowns. Then they had a special team snafu. They had 3 of them last week against Dickinson. They have one on a bad snap on the punt. And Atascocita then turned a 14-point deficit into a 14 game. And then Katy, late first half, were able to extend to a 3-point lead as they get to the locker room up by 3.
Absolutely. And Atascocita, we thought they were left for dead after the first 2 Katy drives. And Atascocita just says, really good athletes and not a deep playbook. Just get the good athletes the ball. Folks like Tony, Mack, and Blaylock, and they did the job tying this one up, but Katy a late field goal.
One of the questions, guys, that I had coming into this game was going to be about the Katy defense, which last week I think kind of uncharacteristically got a little lit up by a good Dickinson squad. What have you seen from the Katy defense so far in the first half?
They've actually played really well. You know, last year in this game, Carde Mack pretty much announced himself to the state. 192 yards, 3 touchdowns, no running back got even close to him against the Katy defense last year. They only allowed 2 100-yard rushers. They both came in weeks 1 and weeks 2. You go back to last week, and Greg, it's a little deceptive because of the muff punts setting Dickinson up with good field position. You take away the 16 points, and it's a 41-21 game. Yes, Dickinson hit some big plays up top. You had that big 70-yard catch and run where Jamal Mason bounced off 2 Katy defenders. But overall, they played well, and they've pretty much played well. Carde Mack's, thrown the ball. He's thrown it with efficiency, but they've bottled him up to the tune of less than 50 yards here in the first half.
Yeah, I think the special teams miscues last week and tonight are kind of skewing things. The Katy defense was just fine.
Absolutely, guys. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us there at halftime. Go and enjoy the second half. We know we're looking forward to watching it. Ish, I think that this is the exact type of game that you end up wanting in this scenario.
Yeah.
It is a number 6 versus number 9 in the 6A, 2 of the powerhouses down there in the greater Houston area. You've got to feel good, I feel like, about having a close game between these two teams.
Look, a lot of people, I don't think we're talking enough about how Atascocita beat this team last year.
For the first time ever.
For the first time ever. But also, I have a question, trivia for both of you.
Oh, here we go.
Take North Shore out of the picture. Okay. Who's the last team to beat Katy twice in back-to-back years? Do either of you know? Because it was North Shore. North Shore did in the same season because they did it regular season, then they met them in the playoffs. But they also beat them that next year during their start to their championship runs.
I would say a team like Katy Tompkins, but I think they've only beaten them like once or twice.
It was the one year with Jalen Miller.
Jalen Miller, yeah.
You got to go back since 2010, twice. Cedar Hill. Joey McGuire's Cedar Hill team beat them in 2013 and 2014. And that was it.
Yeah.
That's the only team that's beat them twice, back-to-back years since 2010. That is an incredible nope. Katy knows how to adjust. You get me once, you're not going to get me twice. Again, 2 teams, North Shore and Cedar Hill. This team, so first of all, give credit to Atascocita for saying, okay, we know we have to step up our game after beating them last year. And then Katy for saying, yeah, we know your secrets, right? I've had your number except for last year. Gary Joseph tells us to correct Stump. But like you mentioned, this is the exact type of game we want to see from a chess match of a head coaching matchup.
So Gary Joseph, in his illustrious career there at Katy, has lost 26 games. That's not like he's lost 26 games in his career there as the head coach. He knows what he's doing. Like I made the point on TexasFootball.com this week. You don't make a good living picking against Gary Joseph. He's going to figure these things out. One of the things that I'm interested in is where Atascocita finds their halftime adjustments, right? So far, they fell down 14-0. They found some adjustments early in this one. They're going to need 1 or 2 more moves to beat Katy. That's what it always takes because you know that they're in the lab, in the locker room, coming up with 1 or 2 big changes. That is what I'm really keeping an eye on in the second half, is to see what Atascocita can change, what they've seen on tape, what they've seen, and can they make those changes in the second half to get them over the top.
It'll be fun to watch. You can watch it here with us or watch it by subscribing to Dave Campbell's Texan Live. All right, back to the big-time game in North Texas. That would be the 5th-ranked North Crowley Panthers taking on the 1st-ranked DeSoto Eagles, and our guy, James. I know how pumped he was to call this one. And I think we're going to have him on in just a little bit. But take a look at this real fast. Not quite halftime yet.
Jimerson!
Oh.
Sir!
Ooh, and the stare down, too.
The audacity.
Yeah. Let's go.
Wow, okay. That is a dime from Chris Jemerson there from North Crowley. Okay.
Yeah.
Game on in DeSoto.
I was just about to say, game on, baby.
Yeah.
So I want to reset here, too. This game was delayed because of lightning in the area. So originally a 7 o'clock kick finally got going at about 7:48. So that's why not quite there into halftime yet. But when is the last time that someone has walked into DeSoto's stadium and said, hi, we're here?
Yeah, 21-14. This is, I mean, you think about it, DeSoto has not been in a real dogfight. They were in a dogfight against South Lake Carolina State semifinal, right?
Sure.
that's probably like the one game they've really been in like a back and forth slugfest with in the last year and a half, basically year and change. Just hand off to Tiger right in there. This is, I think again, we talk so much about punching up a classification, scheduling difficult non-district games. Let's also say that same thing about DeSoto. Yeah. DeSoto is scheduling a team like North Crowley because they know that that's a good test. Like Claude Mathis is lining up because, yes, Ray Gates wants to walk in and get a win. Yeah. But for DeSoto, North Crowley's the kind of team you've got to beat to win a state championship as Keldon Ryan escapes the pocket and will be brought down for a sack there. But for North Crowley, I'll say this. They ain't scared. I think that is the biggest thing. I think for a lot of teams, DeSoto, they walk off the bus and they're up 14-0. Right? North Crowley playing unafraid right now.
They're punching him in the face right from the get-go. Chris Jemerson, as you saw, big-time player, big-time gamer. I mean, of course, here we're recording in NTTV studios. North Texas fans are going to love seeing him put on the green next year as a UNT commit. As we cut to Aledo Lancaster. Look at that.
Racing Guillory.
Whew.
That is a man amongst boys out there.
Only a matter of time before he got going.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it really is. Like, that's the kind of thing about Aledo, is that, like, they will find what works, okay? And maybe what works, just hand it to that guy.
Running back factory.
Yeah, an outstanding cut, kind of a one cut and go type running back is Racing Guillory as he gets in to extend the Aledo lead.
Well, and I think that's a big question that we had about Lancaster going into the year. They've got a lot of skill players and stuff, but how well specifically are they able to stop the rushing attack? And that's a question that you do not want to have when you're playing Aledo and players like Racing Guillory. I think their secondary is good. I think they can defend you in the air, but can they stop you up front?
Oh, and by the way, it's a question you don't want to have when you're in a district with Duncanville.
Sure.
You're in a district with you're in a district with Cedar Hill. You're in a district with DeSoto, right? Like they're in a Waxahachie, a dangerous district. They're going to need to make sure they shore up that running attack. But for Aledo, cruising out to a 10-point lead. We go back down to the Austin area where Rockwall leading Lake Travis, but Lake Travis has kind of trimmed that lead and now with the ball here. And for Rockwall, one of the things that I think it's probably well earned that they are an offensive type team and defense is like, we'll figure out stops when we get there, right? This is going to be a team that is going to go as far as their defense can take them. As Chaston did a tucks and takes it himself. Nice gain there for the young man as Lake Travis now into Rockwall territory. You see the 6 stars there on the logo. There's Chaston did escapes. You see the replay. The 6 state championships that Lake Travis has won, and it's been a minute since they've been playing for a state championship, so they'd love to get back there.
Both these teams, I will say, last year was such a different. We talked about the defenses last year, of course, with both these teams, but particularly Lake Travis, right? They're always going back 10 years ago with Garrett Gilbert, right? The spread offense implementation, Shad Morris, Hank Carter. Now, they've always been that spread quarterback factory. Last year was very different. They had a stellar defense, kind of flipped the playbook with Westlake a little bit, right? That Battle of the Lakes was very, very low scoring, kind of physical. Now this year, like we've mentioned with Chaston Ditta, they have that quarterback again, that caliber of quarterback. In addition to that defense, okay, can Van Hopping control that offense enough to where that defense can do its thing, but also, let the offense cook as well?
Lake Travis looking to take their first lead of the ball game here is going to get a free play here. Now they're going to call encroachment. Oh.
Somebody jump.
Let him go. Let him play, man.
Give him the Aaron Rodgers.
Give him the Aaron Rodgers. Exactly right. Just let him go. They're not bothering anybody. Let them go. You want to go to the Panhandle?
Let's go to the Panhandle. You want to talk about a high-flying affair. It is Canadian. It is Panhandle. Up first, Canadian quarterback Clay Kendall is going to connect and go 57 yards down towards the end zone. Canadian would score after that. Bushland, how about this? On the return, it is the year of special teams. Pop off, big man. How about that? Weaving his way through traffic will go the distance. Game now tied at 7. Bushland hands it off to their big guy in the middle. Go home, he says, waving around. Canadian responds. Very next drive, flat route out to the fullback, and in he goes. He breaks 3 tackles to make that score. Bushland takes it to the end of the half with a 47-yard hitch to the house. How about the high-flying affair we knew it would be?
Manville and Barbers Hill. Let's start with some special teams. As we mentioned, nothing good happens when you show a special teams highlight or something really awesome happens. In that case,
one or the other.
Bad snap. Manville gets the ball deep inside the 5, right there up the middle. It's going to be Kenneth Hayes. Fight through the defense for 6. Manville gets on the board after Barbers Hill was up 7-0 here in the second quarter. Uh-oh, Tep. It's a bad news. It's a highlight of special teams, and he drops the ball again. Oh, Manville special teams makes another play, recovering the ball, the ensuing kickoff. Manville gets the ball inside, just outside the 20, and here's this. Check this out. Jackson Hamilton at quarterback, right there to Antoine Wilder for a touchdown, give Manville the lead.
Bounce down to the Houston area. Spring Westfield taking on Fort Bend Hightower. Westfield looking deep, has his man in stride, but it will be poked out by the Hightower defense. Heads up play there, and he's going to take it back for a big return of his own, all the way down to across midfield into Westfield territory. Now Hightower in business, running the trick play, the end around pass, trickeration in the bucket, touchdown from Hightower. Then Hightower on the defensive side, going to come up with a big third down stop. They're going to look to run it, but instead swallowed up in the backfield. Hightower making a statement early against Westfield, looking to get a big 6A win over a Houston area power.
Boy, howdy, this is exactly what Texas football tonight is all about here on Dave Campbell's Texan Live. We hope you're enjoying taking a look all across the state at some of these games and our partners that have helped us bring these games to you as well. So, guys, we are well into Friday night action for week 2. Any thoughts so far?
No.
Not a single thought. No. Have you ever had a single thought?
I haven't thought about football in quite some time. No, I think that what you're seeing here is kind of the games that we thought were going to be close, kind of are. And even what I think is really interesting is you've got games where it looked early that one team might be running away with it, right? Look at the Katy Atascocita game. Katy ran out to an early 14-0 lead, and we were thinking, uh-oh, maybe one-way traffic. But Atascocita finding a way through. One of the things that I'm keeping an eye on, Ishmael, is that this is, I think, the biggest leap in development comes between week 1 and week 2.
Yeah.
The biggest area of growth, because you get that first bit of tape and you understand where you're weak and you start shoring that up.
Yeah.
Which of these teams are going to be able to start making that progress? You don't have to be a finished product, but which teams are going to show that upward trajectory from a week 1 performance?
Let's look at Rockwall, for example, right? Landon Locke, we talked about him. He's going to Wisconsin. We know he's a great quarterback. Only about 111 yards last week against Richards and Berkner, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he polishes that off a little bit. Maybe he gets going a lot against Westlake. Maybe he really steps up that. And like you mentioned, I'll bring up Gunner again, right? A lot of those players who we're kind of trying to figure who the next generation of those Tigers are going to be. Last week, okay, cool. The Preston Tarpley kid's pretty good at quarterback. We'll see what happens there. This week, you see if it's consistent or if it was a one-off, right? Because especially like you mentioned with DeSoto, some playing out-of-state teams, some are playing cross-division teams, cross-classification teams. Okay, well, let's see. Hey, look, if a Gunner defensive end has a great game against Anna, okay, we know he's a star, right? So we have to figure out exactly where, like you mentioned, clean up week 1, clean this up, and then we go from there. And like you mentioned, a lot of teams start district as well, so we'll see where we go from there.
And that's one of the things, and we'll get to some 2A scores here in just a moment. One of the things that we catch a lot of heck on TexasFootball.com about. We do the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Rankings. It's the rankings of record in Texas high school football. It's the Associated Press rankings. And in week 1, we made a decision as a staff to just take it as what it is, which is 1 week of data.
Sure.
We didn't want to overreact. And part of that is you have to judge these games differently because you've got teams that are playing wildly different, brands of teams, right, in week 1. You got teams that are punching up 2 classifications. You got teams that are punching down. A perfect example is that we kept a team like South Oak Cliff number 2 at 5A Division II, despite losing 38-0.
Sure.
The reason is that you look at the context. 1, they had a very bad first quarter and then basically played them to a 3-0 game, the final 3 quarters. And the other thing is the 250-mile road trip to play one of the very best teams in 6A.
Yeah. Which would, in the playoffs, be 6A Division I.
Correct.
We're talking 5A Division II. That's 3 full classifications if you count the playoff split.
And let me just give you a spoiler alert about rankings, okay? This Gunner and Anna game is going to mean almost nothing in the rankings for us. I'm just telling you the truth because Gunner is 1/4 the size of Anna, okay? Literally, and they're on the road. So, please TexasFootball.com/rankings. Go click on it. But I'm just telling you, don't expect unless Gunner gets absolutely vaporized by Anna, I don't anticipate them moving from the 3A Division II #1 spot. You take a look at the difference here.
Yeah, the bizarre game of the week. So obviously, these two teams you can see are very, very close. Literally, the counties over from each other. This actually should say classification 3A Division II under Gunner, 5A Division II under Anna, moving up that classification. But as you can see, the enrollment size, 363 versus 1490.
Yeah.
That is 4 times the amount of students in that. Not to mention, though, something I wanted to point out, the roster size. Take a look at that. That's how much of a buy-in that you have in Gunner, Texas, is that a 3A Division II team is rolling in with 56 varsity players.
I've been trying to think, by the way, about a college football comparison of this one. And the way that I would maybe make the comparison, I hope this doesn't come off as an insult, is that this is a champion of the ACC, like a Florida State. Bad example at the moment. But of the ACC playing the FCS champion. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a different division,
Yeah.
but this team's obviously excellent.
Yeah.
You would still not consider who won FCS national title last year? Was it North Dakota State? That's usually a good guess.
That's a pretty good guess. I don't think so, but it's a good guess.
You would not expect North Dakota State to go into Florida State and beat Florida State.
Right.
They might this year,
Yeah,
but
this year,
you know what I mean? And so that is from a context perspective, it is so different. And that's why I think you really have to take this game with a grain of salt. We call it the bizarre game of the week. It really is truly, truly bizarre.
Yeah.
Let's go to the highlights, shall we?
I think we can.
Go to Anna and see what's going on there between the Gunner Tigers, and the Anna Coyotes, as Ziondre Williams.
Oh my goodness!
Take it off, and oh boy,
that dude.
Oh no.
Oh, he will not be denied. Inside the 20, already up 38-7 in this one, putting it on him. And they're going to line up and go again. But, look, I will tell you this, I don't think this is all that unexpected.
No, I mean, again, this is the 4A D1 state champion, of course, moving up to 5A D2 in Anna. As you see, I mean, look at the offensive line difference, right? But let's credit Gunner, man. They said, yeah, let's do it, right? We talked. Pickle,
Ziondre Williams.
As we see, man, he's so good. Pickle, we mentioned last week about how all these teams, when the realignment comes, scheduling's hard. Right?
Yeah.
You look at these teams, you're like, who's going to play us? And everybody kind of moves away. Gunner's one of those teams in 3A, right? 3A D1 or 3A D2. And even looking at 4A, because they're like, we don't want to kind of get embarrassed by this team.
Yeah, and it happens more often than not in the small school realm. I mean, you talk about Gunner being one of those teams. Mart is always one of those teams. Yep. Brock is always one of those teams. Kind of on the far-fetched. Go ahead,
Yeah, no, go right ahead.
It's kind of on the far-fetched side of the outer of some of this major metropolitan area are those teams that you really see have to do that. South Oak Cliff being another one.
And here's the thing. There's nothing on the line here for Gunner. They have the state's longest active winning streak at 32 games in a row. They have their state's longest or second or third longest active regular season winning streak at 38 games in a row. As Lake Travis plunges in for the score to take the lead down there. As the Lake Travis Cavaliers have plunged or have clawed all the way back here. And what's funny, we talk about Lake Travis as its quarterback factory. I think I brought up this point on the show last week. The last 3 years, they have run for more yards than they've thrown.
Yeah.
They are
hopping at running back now after Nico Hamilton a year ago.
They're a much more balanced offense than I think people give them credit for, as Lake Travis takes the lead over Rockwall, scoring, I believe, 3 consecutive touchdowns to do it.
Yeah, their junior running back, Van Hopping, has really, really started to develop athletically. Watched a lot of that game that he played in against Arlington Martin last week. He looks much stronger and much quicker than he did, putting on a little bit more weight, about 15 pounds, I think. He is developing into something special.
Carde Mack for Atascocita.
How about this?
Finds his man, and it is a foot race that he will not lose. Atascocita takes the lead, clawing all the way back from down 14-0 now early in the third quarter, taking their first lead of the ball game. I'll tell you this.
Malone at wide receiver, number 8 there on the reception.
I'll tell you this about Atascocita. We had questions about them with Zion Brown kind of leaving. I was a big Zion Brown guy.
Oh, yeah.
You guys have seen the picks every week. I just gushed about Zion Brown. What Carde Mack has stepped in and done in these first 6+ quarters of the season, I am wildly impressed.
He's really good.
He's very good. A big-bodied guy, but it's his arm talent that has drastically improved. I don't know if watching Zion Brown.
Your special
They
teams.
faked it. Here we go. Can he make it in?
Almost.
Oh, dude, he ran into the Katy brick wall right there. Like there was that guy looked at him like, I dare you to try and get
It's
past
the year of
me.
special teams, man. We have bobbled snap there. This is going to be the year of special
This is a
teams.
hit drill, baby.
Yeah, exactly right. That's Oklahoma right there.
Underrated too. I wish that we could go back to that. That ref was hauling. My guy on the line when he
gotta be fit
saw
to be a ref.
that receiver. No, I mean, but he was hauling.
Yeah.
We should do like a ref, not
Ref
Olympics,
highlights.
but
Combine.
like a ref combine. Anybody from Tasso want to
Write
hook
that
us
down.
up? Ref combine coming to Dave Campbell's Texas
Goes in the
football.
back. That goes in the back of the
But
mind
here's the
for-
thing: if
that's an
only
off-season thing.
if only we had a streaming platform to put it on.
We're
Put in the
missing
comments now. Look, listen. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, put in the comments right now if you want to see a ref combine
I would
on
absolutely.
Texan Live.
Because here's the thing: there are some refs out there. We love all our friends at Tasso. There are some refs out there who are jacked.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like
And-
the 15
Yeah.
yards, chunk that
The
way.
old Ed Hockey League.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. We're gonna wave off this flag. You know what I mean? Do with that. It is. We are rolling here on Dave Campbell's Texas football tonight. Games all across the state going into the second half.
Yeah, and I believe we have some 2A scores. We want to take a look at the lower classifications here. We'll start off with 2A Division II as we take a look at the action happening out there. How about that? Our high-flying game in Panhandle and Stratford at 13. All Rice Consolidated up 17-0 on the
Yeah, how about
third-ranked
that?
Shiner Comanches.
Now remember, Shiner. I believe Rice Consolidated is a 3A team
Yes.
playing a team against Shiner. That's now 2A Division II, dropping down to 2A Division II. Bremond in a dogfight with the Sandies of Grapeland. Italy and Chilton's a fun matchup down there in Central Texas as well. Mart playing a team in Maypearl. Remember last week they lost to Whitney, and I think there were people who were kind of like scratching their head like what's wrong with them. Now they're playing another 3A Division I team in Maypearl, and they're on top of them, right? So keep an eye on that one. Windthorst and Wichita Falls City View, another game where Windthorst punching up significantly in that one.
So there's 2A Division II. Why don't we matriculate up to 2A Division I and check out what's happening across the state there. The number one, Ganado Indians on top, 14-7 there. Refugio putting an absolute hurting on London early on there. Honeygrove doing the same to Marlin. Timpson and Lovelady. This one's a fun one out east. Like to see that. Sunray and your player
My
crush
most
of the
special
year.
boy.
In Armando Luan. He's dropping a couple dimes there against Abernathy and then rounding us out here. How about this matchup? This was the one that we've had circled, Holly versus Albany, and this was the, okay, where are we at? What is the barometer on the 2A scale here?
Well, because remember, Albany dropped their opener last week in their season opener, kind of got launched into the sun in a lot of ways by Stratford and what they were able to do. Looking to bounce back already, a more promising result there, especially defensively, but they got to find some offense to get going. All right, let's now bounce back to the DFW, where North Crowley taking on DeSoto. And it is once again a back-and-forth, high-flying affair. DeSoto now up 27-21 with the ball now in the second quarter. Remember, this game did start late. If you're thinking, wait, it's 8:43. Why is this game only in the second quarter? One, pointsy.
Yep.
Two, this game did start about 45 minutes late because of lightning in the area. Hashtag war on weather. We don't need the sun. Blow it up.
Nothing wrong with DFW after dark.
No, absolutely. A little DFW after dark as the handoff there, plowing his way forward for a short gain. This is for a North Crowley team that I think under Ray Gates has had a real steep ascent the last 2 years.
Sure.
Very, very steep ascent. This would be a real feather in their cap and a real we have arrived moment if they can go on the road and knock off DeSoto.
Well, Ish, we were at a North Crowley game 3 years ago when Ray Gates first took over at the helm after leading Cedar Hill as the DC, and we were very impressed by what then was a very young quarterback in Chris Jimerson, just starting off as a sophomore, and he pulled us over after the game, and I'll just air out his laundry here, but he goes, guys, give me a couple years.
Give me 2 years.
He goes, as soon as Jimerson is a senior, he goes, we will stand a real chance to go try and compete for a state title.
And this is what he's been building towards, right? This is exactly the team that he's had with Chris Jimerson, of course, but also Quentin Gibson at wide receiver, as we saw there as well, and I believe Cornelius Warren, who's going to UNLV at running back. is loaded with talent, right? This is a North Crowley team that their standards dipped a little bit before Ray Gates got there. It was a great program that was building, growing, new stadium, new facility. As we see him, and we mentioned last week, his mentor, Carlos Lynn, now at Crowley, that whole area is just booming. And so, like, yes, this will be a year that he's been culminating towards since his first year, but it's not going to be the only year that you're going to hear about North Crowley. Chris Jimerson's going to leave, and there's going to be another, and there's going to be another, and there's going to be another in terms of quarterbacks, in terms of receivers, offensive, defensive line, playmakers everywhere. It just, like Tepper mentioned, it could just be that first feather in the cap that all of a sudden established that they were here.
Say this about Ray Gates.
The man knows how to barbecue.
He's been building this program low and slow. That's what he's been doing.
Putting it in the smoker, letting it cook.
Letting it cook.
Let Ray Gates cook.
Speaking of letting people cook, one guy we always like to let cook at Dave Campbell's Texas Football is our director of recruiting, Greg Powers, who filed this report in this week's Cruton Corner.
Welcome into the Cruton Corner, where we talk about the top Texas talents across the Lone Star State. And we're going to dive right in this week with the premier position. We're going to be talking about the top 3 quarterback prospects in the class of 2025, and they're all committed to college programs. We're going to start at the top, and that's with Duncanville's Keelan Russell. The 6'3", 175-pounder was the Elite 11 quarterback MVP. The one-time SMU commitment flipped his decision from the in-state Mustangs to the Alabama Crimson Tide this spring, where he'll head up that SEC offense in the future, and he's going to be entering Tuscaloosa battle tested because he competes against what I think is the nation's premier district of football, and that's Texas's fearsome 11-6A, the District of Doom, where Keelan Russell completed over 70% of his passes last year and led the Panthers to their second consecutive 6A Division I state championship win. So he will enter college with plenty of accolades. He's a smooth thrower and a tremendous athlete at the position. You can call him a dual threat because he can beat you through the air or he can beat you on the ground. Now to look at number 2 and number 3, we're going to go to District 12-3A. They're home to both of our next 2 top-tier quarterbacks in the state, and that's Adam Schobel at Columbus and Lloyd Jones III at Hitchcock. Adam Schobel is the son of Columbus head coach Matt Schobel, and he's committed to TCU, where his dad starred. Now, his path to TCU wasn't an easy one because he made a couple of commitments before he ended up on the Horned Frogs commitment list, because he was a one-time commitment to Baylor and a one-time commitment to Oklahoma State. But when TCU came calling with that offer, he didn't hesitate to flip his commitment and follow in his father's footsteps. And the Horned Frogs are getting a gunslinger. 6'5", 190 pounds. And what I can say is you can go ahead and lock it down. Adam Schobel is going to pass for 2,500 yards this year. Why? Because he passes for 2,500 yards every single year. He's done it since his freshman season at Columbus, and he's a 4-year varsity starter. Lloyd Jones, a tremendous athlete, headed to Texas Tech, 6'2", 180 pounds. Lloyd Jones is this guy that can bring it every single play. As a matter of fact, he's a state champion on the hardwood as well, leading the Bulldogs to a state title there this season. I think that Hitchcock has got a star on their hands, a guy that can compete with Columbus to try to pick up that win in a hard-fought loss last year. They need Jones to play good to be able to knock Columbus off the top of the perch in District 12-3A. But looking ahead to college, Jones is a guy who I think can really lead that Texas Tech offense, because he's a guy who can pull the ball down and run when he gets in trouble, and he has that innate ability to be an improvisational quarterback. So there's 3 top guys in the Lone Star State. One of them's heading out of state to Alabama, but 2 of them are staying in state, and you'll definitely need to keep your eyes tuned not only to those quarterbacks, but all of the top talent in the state of Texas. We'll be bringing you some hard-hitting coverage of them right here on Texas Football Tonight.
Thank you to Greg Powers, most handsome member of the Dave Campbell's Texas football staff. That's dispute. Let's go down to the Houston area, where another big game going on down there in H-Town. Crosby taking on a Pioneer squad out of Alvin, Iowa Colony, looking to make that leap in 2024. Let's go to the highlights down there in the Houston area. We're going to start it off with Crosby's quarterback, Crosby quarterback Lott Robeson going to find his man Wesley Yarborough for the touchdown, but Iowa Colony would have a response. This is their sophomore quarterback throwing deep and he will find Jaden Warren for the score, and then his second touchdown of the game as he rolls out and finds his man Jaden Warren again for the score as Iowa Colony taking an early 17-0 lead over Crosby. Back here on Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight, as Iowa Colony looking very good in this one. There are games all across state.
A new program too in the Alvin ISD, and it's been very fun to watch them kind of come up, go through what you would think would be first-year struggles, but they really weren't. Yep. They really came onto the scene last year.
Well, and I think it speaks to just I don't think it's necessarily a surprise that that Iowa Colony was that good because of the first word, which is Alvin. And we know the talent base they have there at Iowa Colony simply because they're drawing from schools like Manville, right?
Sure.
And we know how good they are.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Manville kind of, I don't want to say drop off, but we've seen their standard kind of definitely drop a little bit now that they're dividing talent to Iowa Colony, to Shadow Creek. And yeah, I mean, it's just a growing area down in the Houston area and just adds already another school to an already abundantly talented area of the state.
There are abundantly talented areas all across as we continue to dive into games here on Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight. Ashley Pickle, Greg Tepper, and Ishmael Johnson here until 10 o'clock with you as we take a look at the aforementioned Alvin ISD Manville playing Barbers Hill, a singular school district down in the greater Houston area. And guys, this one very, very close here.
Yeah, Kirk Martin kind of returning to Manville, looking to kind of put his stamp back on that program. There he is down there and talking to his boys. But this is a Manville program that I think you're right, Ishmael. For years and years, they were in many ways the standard bearer in 5A in the Houston area, right? Making it to a state championship game, coming up short to that Highland Park team. But this is a Manville team that I think wants to get back to that level and taking on a Barbers Hill team that, look, has been a program that we think has that kind of potential, but has not been able to get over that hump. Coming out with a win in this one would be very, very huge for them as Crosby, or rather Manville, taking off and getting a nice gain there. Let's go to Katy and Atascocita, where we've got other action down there in the Houston area, one of the premier games down there, as Katy on play action finds his man for the score. Gunnar Nelson firing a touchdown pass to give Katy the lead once again, 24-20 there in the middle of the third quarter, as Katy will not go away. The, of course, noted air raid program, Katy Tigers.
I was just about to say, Katy touchdown pass, what's happening?
Yeah, you said those words, and I don't think it quite computed in my brain what you were talking about, because those words can't be said in the same sentence.
Gary Joseph shrugged a little bit. He's like,
when we did the final throw of the ball, we were talking about when we did the Dave Campbell's Texas Football gatefold cover shoot with Gary Joseph, head coach at Katy, and his son Jeff Joseph, the head coach at Port Neches Groves. Jeff Joseph mentioned, he's like, yeah, I think I still know the whole playbook. Yeah. Like the whole playbook down there for the Katy Tigers. It just hasn't changed. I mean, it's very, not simple, but like there's about 10, 12
I was about
plays.
to say, would it shock you if it's like one page, it's like 10 plays?
Yeah, it's like, all right, figure it out.
Yeah, it's like, are you going to stop
simple,
it?
Simple, but effective. That's the word there, that it's like, it doesn't really matter how simple it is.
Are you going to stop it?
No.
But I will tell you this about Gunnar Nelson, the quarterback there of Katy. Just rock solid, right? A guy who can make those throws. And when you got a guy like Tremaine Hill at the running back spot that you have to respect, that makes play action. I think I've said this before, I think they're the best play action team in Texas high school football. Sure. Simply because you have to respect the run so much, and they teach those quarterbacks, like, listen, you're going to be handing the ball off a lot.
Yep.
But when you pull it, it's going to be about
baby.
12 times a year. We're going to need you to do that.
So there we go, as we will depart Barbers Hill and Manville because we have action going on in the DFW. The Anna Coyotes, the 5A Division II team, taking on the Gunnar Tigers out of 3A Division II. This one is a wacky classification matchup, but our very own Caleb Blanton is here to talk about it. Caleb, we wondered with how big of a disparity between the classes are, if it would look like a perennial powerhouse in Gunnar was potentially feeling the wrath of that classification draw. Have you noticed that so far?
Yeah, I sure have. I mean, if you don't know the score right now, it's 48-15. Zyandre Williams, he's been balling. The defense has had no answer for him so far. And Yeah, it looks like complete dominance. They've had no answer. It's been complete and a coyote so far.
I want to ask you specifically about Ziondre Williams. This is a guy that we've had our eye on, of course, leading them to a state championship last year. What have you seen from him tonight? Obviously, putting on an offensive display, but what have you seen from him tonight that has you most impressed?
Well, number one, he's very accurate. He's hit every pass. And then, of course, when he's running the ball, he's just a threat. He can take it the distance. Like, there's not one thing that I see with his game that's a fault. Like, everything is just positive. He's made no bad plays. There have been a few plays that were dropped interceptions, but that's the only negative I've seen. And besides that, he's done his thing, and I'm really excited to see what he continues to do this year because he's been balling.
One question about the end of defense. Gunner's offense is a unique offense for anybody playing in the state, but as you've seen with the score, and has done a pretty good job of keeping them in check. You know, what have they been able? Is it just a pure size disparity dominance, or are they playing that spread option, that pistol option, a particular way that you're seeing?
Yeah, I mean the defense for Gunner, it's really been hard. They haven't had any opportunities, and it's just been really tough. You know, Gunner, they've had it a really hard time. And especially on offense, their offense has not had a chance. Their offense, they really started tough. In the first few drives, they had fumbles, and they just haven't had a chance. They can't really throw it down the field, and they're just running it, and they're not really getting anything. And that's why the score is 48-15.
8-15, that's the score there. Caleb, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the Ziondre Williams show, and we will check back in with you in just a little bit. So from the northeast side of the DFW, how about we check over into the northwest side? Actually, I guess the southeast side, considering we're in DeSoto here. But DeSoto, North Crowley. DeSoto with the ball up in the air, and my goodness, off of his knees. How about that?
Keldon Ryan buying time and keeping his eyes downfield, and an impressive play there.
Yellow flag.
Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do here. Officials thinking about it.
DeSoto's still celebrating.
Yeah,
so
DeSoto doesn't look. They don't look too discouraged about it. Although we'll see. You know.
No, it looks like an unhappy North Crowley player as he was walking past the ref. So that it might have been a defensive penalty.
Yeah,
there.
looks like
some kind.
Yeah, looks like they're.
I'll say this: we were at 7-on-7 this summer, and of course DeSoto is. Honestly, since they've won state, they've been really good at 7-on-7 also. I believe they won 2 of those championships. And we saw them this year, and we're like, okay, like, obviously Keldon Ryan is not the type of passer that DJ Bailey was. But the fact that they were able to still win 7-on-7 where passing and execution and accuracy is the name of the game, I think that spelled, you know, a little bit of a nightmare for the rest of the state when you're like, oh, man, they graduated that guy, and they're still doing this?
All right. You guys want to see if Claude Mathis is going to go back and watch this? How concerned are we that DeSoto's given up 29 points in the first quarter, or first half, rather?
You're going to get a call tomorrow.
I'm getting a call
you're getting a call at 10:30 p.m.
Yeah, 10:30.
Tepper, what'd you say about my defense?
I'm just saying. Now, look, North Crowley's obviously high powered.
Yes.
Stuff like that. And the other thing about this is for we talked about it from the jump. This is the first look at DeSoto.
Yeah.
First look. This is in many ways, their first game of the year.
Yeah.
Right? Right out of the chute, I think they're gonna have some things to fix. Obviously, they're gonna have some warts to cover up. Offensively, no notes, looking pretty good. Defense, some things to clean up.
And I will say,
Barbers Hill will take it on for a touchdown.
I would predict. Oh, as we see, how about that down the left side there? I would predict Claude Mathis would say the exact same thing in terms of.
Yes.
Hey, look at that offense, right? Yeah. Hey, look at that Chris Jemerson on the other side there. He's a good quarterback, man. My defense can do what they can do, but there's some plays that he's just going to make, even no matter who he's going against.
Yeah, game respect game, plain and simple. As Barbers Hill goes in for a score. Let's now bounce down to back to the DFW area as North Shore and Crowley.
Ooh.
Oh, Caleb Bailey dropping a dot for the touchdown to expand the lead to 28-7. As North Shore in full bloom here, the east side rolling their mid-third quarter.
How good is it to see a healthy Caleb Bailey? Because as we know, he was not 100% last year in the playoffs, especially in the state championship game where Duncanville overmatched them. How good is it to see him healthy, obviously hitting a guy in stride? Because that's if that is going to be the game again, Duncanville North Shore, which of course it is until it isn't, they need him to be 100% healthy.
Yeah, and they need that running threat. That's it, plain and simple. If he can run, he's a different guy, plain and simple.
Well, the game action just continues here on Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight. We're excited to bring you plenty more highlights as we continue on for the remainder of the night. But we are going to switch gears here just in a second. A lot of people would say that coaches, they have a way with words. They are able to take a group of young men and have the impeccable stand up to sit there and get them to buy into something, to believe in a journey, to climb to the mountaintop and to finish a season. I think a lot of coaches would also tell you that it's more important than football. It's about the young men that they develop into, the husbands, the fathers, their life post-football. It would be hard to find a coach that understands that for a multitude of reasons better than Gilmer head coach Alan Metzel. Here's Aaron Hardigan's conversation with Coach Metzel.
We talk often about Jeff Traylor, the GOAT, the Godfather. He was the one that built Gilmer into the power it is today, right? But I look at your resume, and I think in just 4 seasons since you took the reins, you, of course, were a long-time assistant under Traylor, then you became OC under Matt Turner's 5-year stint. Right. Then you take the reins, and in 4 seasons, you take him to 3 state championship games and a title. You did it so efficiently. That's impressive.
I appreciate it.
Do you recognize like the work you've done so quickly, and who do you credit for that? What do you credit?
Well, I think it's a compilation of everything. You know, I get to stand on the shoulders of Jeff Traylor and Matt Turner. You know, that a lot, of course I was there in the early years with Jeff, and there was a whole lot that had to be done to push that pendulum over, you know. So there was a lot of non-glory things that we were having to do back in 01 and 2 and 3 and grinding and you know, losing in the first round of the playoffs a couple of years in a row, those kind of things. And so I think having those years gives me a great perspective on getting to appreciate the success that we're having.
I think a lot of your authenticity stems from something you do, something you are passionate about away from the football field. And that's serving as a pastor. Right. A preacher. I don't know which title you prefer.
Either, doesn't matter.
But I think that is super fascinating because I know there are a lot of God-fearing men in Texas high school football, but not many that serve in a role that ignites a congregation. I feel that has to translate to football somehow. If you can ignite a congregation, I feel it's pretty seamless to be able to ignite a football team. How have those two maybe overlapped and helped one another?
Well, I think they're very complementary. You know, they're both about serving people. They're both about building people up, helping them to be all that God's created them to be, whether it's in their workplace, their family unit, etc. Quite frankly, coaching, you're just starting at an earlier segment of their life, you know, and hoping to help them to get to the place they are when they're in your congregation, you know. So to me, when people go, well, how do those two fit? Well, how do they not fit? You know, it's a seamless transition. So I'm blessed to have this opportunity. It's not something that I just decided, oh, I'm going to go do this. It's something I feel like God put on my heart to do. And I think that's pretty critical. Otherwise, you end up burning the candle at both ends and, you know, you can't get it done.
I am curious to know how, you mentioned it's that call. When did it begin? How did it begin?
Well, my dad was a pastor, and I would help, you know, like every now and then I would speak or preach, you know, that kind of thing. I'd speak at FCA events or baccalaureates or whatever. So I felt very comfortable in that role. I'd always be like, Dad, you can take care of all that other stuff. I'm good. You know, all the weight and the pressure and all that. I could come in and share and move on and that kind of thing. There was a period of time where he got sick and ended up needing to go see some specialists in Florida. And so he was out for several weeks. And during that time period, as I was filling in and having to cover some of the other roles, you know, I felt like maybe God was letting me know, okay, that's in the future. And the only thing that kept me from freaking out was, maybe in the distant future, down the road. But that within about a year and a half or so, he got sick on a Sunday and died on a Friday. It escalated. And so all that process got expedited. And that was in 2007. And so for the past 17 years, my wife and I, that's the role we stepped into. Felt like God said do that, and so here we go.
Do your players come to any of your services?
Some do. We're about 18 miles outside of Gilmer, where the church is, and a lot of ours aren't able to travel out there. I've got some coaches that come out there, but at the same time they get a lot of me. They, I don't want to overdo that, and so that's not something in any way that I'm going to pressure them on, and so they get me, at least 6 days a week for a lot of the year, so it's all good.
I think you're discrediting the fact that you're a very important voice in their life. I will say that.
I appreciate it.
What's the message to them moving forward following the state championship? There's a saying that, when you reach the top of one mountain, you're at the bottom of the next.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, and one of the things when you bring up the mountain, we always draw a mountain when we start a season. And we've got our preseason games, and that's phase 1, and then we've got our district games, and that's phase 2, and then you get your postseason phase 3. But on that mountain, the state championship's not at the top. That's about a little over half of that mountain, and at the top it says become the man you were created to be. So in that journey, we're working. These are opportunities we get, adversity and challenges. But someday they're gonna graduate. They're gonna hopefully go to school or get a job, get married, have kids. All those things they're still working up. So that's a continual thing, and this is just a small piece of something that's much bigger. And so to me, every year, it's easy to transition into, okay, now we're at this new phase. This year we're in the 24-year phase of 2024 of what you're becoming. And I think that's worth getting excited for, and I think it's worth working for, when you ask for so much from them.
That's what we love about you. You build tremendous football players, yes, but even better young men. Thank you for that. And for all you do for Texas high school football. We're looking forward to that next climb.
Thank you. I'm excited about it too.
Want to talk Texas high school football with your two favorite dorks? Join television's Greg Tepper and Ashley Gizmo Pickle every Monday and Thursday at noon on TexasFootball.com. Texas Football Today, the flagship program of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. It's the same analysis, insight, review, and preview that you've come to know and love, talking about Texas high school football and college football all across the Lone Star State.
In a college football world that's increasingly nationalized, Dave Campbell's Texas Football presents The Republic of Football, the only comprehensive podcast on all 13 college teams in Texas. Live every Tuesday at noon on the Dave Campbell's YouTube page, Twitter, Facebook pages, and publishing on Apple Podcasts and Spotify shortly thereafter. Host Ishmael Johnson leads the gang in discussing the biggest college football stories from the state. You get coverage of the SEC, Big 12, ACC, AAC, CUSA, and Sunbelt, but with a little Texas twist. No one has their finger on the pulse like senior college writer MC Mike Craven, staff writer Carter Yates, and everyone's favorite Malpal producer Mallory Hartley. Come spend your lunch break, your car ride, or gym session with the Republic of Football. Live on Tuesdays at noon at TexasFootball.com and published everywhere you get your podcast shortly thereafter.
Are you ready to kick off your Wednesdays with a fresh, fun, and fearless take on football? Tune in to Women Talking Football, hosted by the dynamic duo of Dave Campbell's Texan Live, Ashley Pickle, and Mallory Hartley. Every Wednesday at 12 p.m., join us on TexasFootball.com as we deep dive into every corner of the Lone Star State's football scene. From exclusive insights with coaches' wives to on-the-ground reports from across Texas, we've got the inside scoop you won't get anywhere else. Get ready for a game-changing experience where the ladies bring their A-game and you might just find yourself saying WTF in the best way possible. Women Talking Football, where sports analysis meets sass and expertise. You can't miss it.
Want to go deep on Texas high school football? Check out Tepper and Step, the premium high school football podcast from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Each week, Greg Tepper and Matt Stepp take you inside Texas high school football like nobody else, breaking down the biggest games and the biggest storylines from all across the state. Want to know more about Texas high school football than the guy at your water cooler? Go to TexasFootball.com and become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber so you can get Tep and Step in your podcast feed. Or tune in every Friday at noon at TexasFootball.com for premium insights from Texas high school football experts Matt Stepp and Greg Tepper.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Texas Army National Guard are honored to present the Coach of the Week Award, celebrating one head coach in 7 different classifications. That's 6A all the way down to 6-man, and of course, private school every single week. Think your head coach deserves some recognition? Nominate them under our weekly Twitter and Facebook post. Those will come out Friday at 10:30 p.m., Saturday 8:30 p.m., and Sunday at 6:30 p.m. That's facebook.com/Dave Campbell's or at DCTF on Twitter. Thank you to Texas Army National Guard for helping spotlight the hard work and dedication of high school head coaches across Texas.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Ozarka will announce 7 Team of the Week winners for 14 weeks of the Texas high school football season from Class 6A down to 6-man and including private schools. Head to TexasFootball.com, go to the Awards tab, and find Ozarka Team of the Week to see this season's winners and vote for your program to be named. Winners are announced every Wednesday on Twitter and Facebook.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Panini America are teaming up this season to honor the best high school quarterbacks across the state of Texas. 7 quarterbacks, 1 in each classification, 1A through 6A in private schools, will be named Quarterback of the Week and will receive a virtual Panini America trading card to commemorate their performance. Check out which outstanding quarterback was selected each Tuesday morning on the Dave Campbell's Twitter and Facebook pages.
Your power is unstoppable. And with us cheering you on, there's no limit to where it can take you. Baylor Scott and White Health, the power to live better.
Welcome back into Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight as we keep the ball rolling here on week 2 of the Texas high school football season. All right, what a better game to get out to than Coppell and Waxahachie, 2 premier teams in the DFW area. And our guy finally making his Texas Football Tonight debut for season number 2. He's been hounding us for it, Matthew. We got you on. It is Mr. Matt Stepp. And, man, it looks like 14-0. Are we getting that right with this one?
Yeah, that's right. We're about to start the second half. We were delayed about 40 minutes due to a little rainstorm that came through. And, yeah, the story in this game has really been the Waxahachie defense dominating Coppell's offensive line and really harassing Coppell quarterback Edward Griffin, keeping him from making any reads downfield. While Waxahachie sophomore quarterback Jerry Meyer III has beaten the Coppell blitz a couple of times for a couple of long touchdown passes. And that's the difference in the game right now. Jerry Meyer has made a couple of sophomore mistakes, but he's also showed his elite arm talent and able to read the defense and burn a blitzing Coppell defense with a couple of big plays.
An outstanding sophomore, absolutely. When you take a look at what Coppell needs to fix offensively, what would you say has kind of been the kryptonite there that they need to bounce back into moving into the second half?
Their offensive line has struggled. Coppell's not been able to run the football at all, and they haven't been able to protect Edward Griffin. Waxahachie's bringing 4, and they're able to get a lot of pressure. The defensive end Pointer has been a menace for the Coppell offense all evening long so far, and I think Coppell's offensive line especially is going to need to make some adjustments if they want to keep this game close, because right now they have not been able to hold up against the Waxahachie front 7.
Tepper was talking a big game about his Coppell Cowboys, so we'll see if they can bounce back in the second half. Go out there, have some fun, eat some good press box food, and we'll talk to you a little bit later. But Ish, you heard it there. The sophomore quarterback from Waxahachie just absolutely balling out. He said made some sophomore mistakes for sure. But you want to talk about a bright spot to go up against a very good 6A team like Coppell. Second week of the season, and the sophomores already showing out.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you would have told me that Waxahachie would have had the better star quarterback in this game compared to Edward Griffin, right, going to Baylor. I mean, look, Coppell is coming off one of the best seasons in school history last year. There's a lot of momentum, and Waxahachie kind of lurking in the back, right? They're obviously a great program, but they're not one of those teams that you're going to put up there as like, oh yeah, they're going to be one of the best to come out of the DFW. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to be competitive. But punching Coppell in the face, like you mentioned, with their sophomore quarterback, that's impressive. And if they come away with a victory here, all of a sudden our eyes kind of go a little south in DFW, start looking at the Indians a little bit more seriously.
Absolutely. And I mean, that would be a shakeup in that district alone. You want to talk about, we always say the District of Doom, 11-6A with Cedar Hill, DeSoto, Duncanville, Waxahachie. You start looking into, can Waxahachie keep moving up? So very interested to see that. We will keep an eye on that game as we continue. But how about some 3A action? My favorite classification. I'm not scared to say it. We take a look at 3A Division II. Poth having their way with Fall City. Again, Fall City punching up a classification. Jacksboro absolutely laying it on the Yellow Jackets.
Shout out Cannon Valenzuela.
Absolutely. Avoid. Take a look at that. Munster and Holiday.
Yeah,
that is a fun one. And Munster punching up a classification.
Yeah, that is awesome for them. I mean, Munster, the Hornets, always one of the best teams around the North Texas area. How about Jefferson and Newton? Of course, Jefferson, I believe, Newton, punching up a division. Jefferson Division 1, 3A, excuse me. Newton, of course, as you see, the number 5 team in 3A Division 2. Jefferson kind of taking it to them, at least so far. Lexington over Little River Academy, 38-7. And then Tidehaven and Goliad.
How about that on the coast?
Yeah.
That's a Coastal Bend hard-hitting matchup down there. Tidehaven nudging them out just slightly, but we'll definitely be keeping our eye on that one. Let's head on over up to 3A Division 1 and take a look at what those scores look like. Malakoff and Lorena, you want to talk about a tasty matchup, and we have a lot of questions about Lorena. This game could solve it. If we see a really good playing out of this with Malakoff, that would be something.
Oh, 100%. As we look down to Canadian and Bushland, Canadian punching up a division as well. 3A Division 2 team taking on Bushland, proving their worth right now. Hampshire Finette trailing Hitchcock. Hitchcock, one of those teams which we'll talk about them along with the number 2 team, Columbus, in a couple weeks. They're in the same district, both taking care of business here. Columbus taking care of LaGrange after an impressive 11-man debut for Grayson Rigdon last week against Cuero. Godley over Paris right now, and Seminole over number 8 Shallow Water so far.
And it makes me happy to see so many different teams from so many different regions up here in the top of the classification. Bushland and Shallow Water obviously out in Region 1, Malakoff in Region 2, Columbus and Hitchcock down there. So it's very cool to see in 3A Division 1 kind of that disparity that's there of it's anyone's ball game from any region. There are definitely classifications that we'll look at and go, oh, right side of the bracket, loaded. Left side of the bracket, loaded. Not 3A Division 1.
No, not 3A Division 1 at all. It's definitely one of my favorites, as you mentioned. It's one of my, that classification 3A, but not only 3A, but 3A Division 1 in particular becomes one of my favorites. And then you punch up, I would say what I love about it most is you get that mixture of, you get the offenses that are able to spread them out, but you also get those unique offenses that are able to, whether it's slot T or pistol option or whatever. That's where 3A and 4A are kind of where those offenses blend, because you go bigger, you get the more spread traditional. You go smaller, you get more power, run heavy. 3A and 4A are kind of those mixtures where it's just, you don't know what type of team you're going to get. You don't know what type of scheme you're going to get. Like you mentioned, the variances, the parity, everything goes into it.
Yeah, we had the recruiting corner this week. I'll tell you, there's going to be a lot of 3A players in those. The recruiting is deep in 3A Division 1. All right, we have tons of more games as they're starting the second half here across the state. Let's head out to one of them and hear from our announcers here on Dave Campbell's Texan Live.
Tackles one-on-one out there. That's a tough position to be in for Hall there. He's able to use technique and get the runner down and hit him for a loss.
So 2nd and 12, 2 receivers to either side. The ball on the near hash toward the Aledo sideline here. 8:50 and counting here in the third quarter. 19-6 Aledo to throw. Pass is caught and taken, and then it's going to be incomplete. Ball couldn't Boy, Hall with the hit again. The pass was intended for Pipkins at around the Aledo 33-yard line, and Hall just laid out Pipkins, who couldn't hang on to it. He had it for a second, and then when Hall popped him, it came out.
That was out. I mean, Hall was right there.
That
after
hurt.
He caught it. That hurt from up here. I mean, that was an outstanding hit there by Hall to break up the pass and put Lancaster in a position 3rd and long here. You allow that Aledo defensive line to really pin their ears back and try to get after Carter Jones.
So Lancaster 1 of 5 on 3rd down. They face a need of 12 here at the Aledo 41. Have to get to the Aledo 29-yard line. 2 receivers to the far side. Johnson is the H-back tight end to the left. Jones to throw. Pressure, sacked. Back at the midfield stripe. Cooper Cyphers with the sack of the second sack of the night for the Bearcats, a loss of 9. And the Bearcats defense comes up big following their turnover. They're going to force a punt.
Yeah, it's a huge answer there for the Bearcats. You know, as we said, find a way to get them in these obvious passing situations, and you can use. I mean, the strength of Aledo's defense is that front 4. They just do such a good job when it's an obvious passing situation. They can get after the quarterback. That time, Cooper Cypher is able to get back there, hit him for a big loss, force a punt, which is a huge stand there for the defense coming off that interception from the opening drive.
Loss is officially back of 8 yards to the Aledo 49-yard line. As Burns will punt, Lamel Swanson stands at his 20-yard line. Again, Burns has only averaged about 23 yards a punt, so that's why Lamel is standing up here. Aledo hoping to get a pretty decent return out of this, and the snap goes way over Burns' head. He has to run back and chase it. He's going to try and run away, and he's going to be tackled down at the 10-yard line. The tackle made by Chase Wilburn as the snap was nowhere near Burns, well to his right, and so all he had to do was scramble to try and go chase the football. And all he could do was try and fall. I think he was going to try and see if he could punt it, but then when he saw Chase Wilburn bearing down on him, no chance. And Aledo inside the red zone.
Special teams once again, picking up where they left off in the first half. A huge mistake there by Lancaster, sending the snap over the punter's head. They're able to get down there, get the punter on the ground, give the offensive ball back inside the red zone. It's a great job there once again by special teams to come up big and give the offense the ball inside the red zone.
Briggs Freeman Realty, Sally Watkins Group, red zone visit for the Bearcats, and they didn't even have to do anything to get there except make a stop on a punt. 2 receivers to the near side. It is a give over the right side. Running room for Guillory to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown, Aledo Bearcats. Opportunistic Bearcats take advantage of the special teams mistake, and they go up by a score of 25-6 with 7:39 to play in the third quarter.
Yeah, it's, if converting this field goal, that'll be 14 points the Bearcats have got off of special teams mistakes by Lancaster.
Well, Deacon just walked out because he said they should go for 2 and Cole Crawford on the lineup for the – come back here, Deacon. Anyway, your local sports club has the extra point for you. He really didn't go anywhere, but because if he did, then I would have to tackle him to bring him back. Kick on the way by Crawford is good. And and then the flag was thrown. They're probably going to be roughing the kicker by Lancaster, which means Aledo will have pretty good field position to kick this one off. And we'll talk about that on the other side. Bearcats up 26-9, and you're listening to Bearcats football on Hank FM.
Racing Guillory racing down the sideline there for another Bearcat touchdown. The water is still wet. Things are right on track for the Aledo Bearcats. Let's check in now with another DFW powerhouse matchup, the 5th-ranked North Crowley Panthers and the first-seeded DeSoto Eagles, as we bring in our buddies, James and Ross. Guys, excited to have you on. I know how excited that y'all were to be able to call this game tonight. Has it lived up to the hype so far?
Hey, Gizmo, how's it going? Yeah, it's been great. It's been a fun one so far. I mean, honestly, it's lived up to the hype. We had a little bit of a delay, just like Step had with his Coppell game. But overall, the offense has been phenomenal. Both teams have been trading blows so far. We've seen, obviously, the Quentin Gibson and Chris Jimerson connection, but DeSoto's doing so good. Keldon Ryan's really been throwing the ball well. He runs well. Ross with 5 35-yard plays.
Yes. In fact, it looks like just about all but one of the scoring plays were not from 30-plus yards out. So both of these teams are just trying at all ends to avoid the red zone and score from well beyond there.
Knew would be the name of the game, whether it's the prospects or the level of play that they're doing. You touched on one of the guys, Chris Jimerson. We have watched him throw a couple of absolute dimes. We know how good of a player he is, but what is it about the way that he's operating that offense tonight that's making it so special there for the Panthers?
Yeah, I think one of the things you look at with Chris Jimerson, obviously the North Texas commit, is that when he gets really comfortable, when he gets comfortable, he's able to avoid the pressure. That line does a very good job for him and giving him the time to create that space. 12 seconds in the game. What was it, 12? We saw him throw a touchdown there to Gibson, and he felt comfortable from the get-go. Now, he has made some mistakes. There have been, I think, 15-plus penalties in this game, so it hasn't been a clean game, the battle of Dallas versus Fort Worth, but with Jimerson, you expect greatness every time he comes out.
It would be remiss not to ask. I mean, we all know it. Any Texas high school football fan across the state knows it. This is not a position that DeSoto is used to being in, not only in a close game, losing anything like that. What is Claude Mathis going to have to say at halftime, and where are the areas of improvement you think you can see from DeSoto heading into the second half?
Well, absolutely. They really need to shore up those penalties. That's something that James spoke on a moment ago. And it's just been a little bit messy. In fact, on DeSoto's first scoring drive, I believe, of the game, they had 2 false starts in 3 plays, was it?
That's right.
So just not as clean of a game as they wanted to. And then for both teams, they really need to do a better job of solo tackles, wrapping up tackles, because as we mentioned, with all those 30-plus yard touchdown drives, it makes it really hard and deflates your defense and the offense for that matter. When, you're just giving up so many explosive plays, and a lot of times you have to go right back out after just giving the ball back.
There we go. It's our dynamic duo out there in the DFW. James Schreitley, Ross Levinsky. Guys, we appreciate it. Go out there and enjoy that second half for us. Ish, very exciting to see a competitive game there. If nothing else, just the fact that we talked about it, North Crowley might be to that point that Ray Gates has been telling us, we'll get there. Yeah. Give us that time. This would be a massive feather in their cap and make me buy in on that North Crowley stock.
100%. You look at the past couple of years of DFW, it's been DeSoto, it's been Duncanville, right? And it was always kind of waiting for that game during district, right? It's like, okay, these two teams, yeah, sure, they're going to play so-and-so, they're going to play SOC, and they're going to play these teams. But it was always those two teams, right, that you wanted to play. North Crowley punching their way into that discussion changes a lot, right? Because obviously they have their own playoff path to go through. So all of a sudden, do we have another state contender that we have to consider, right? And so just throwing another team into that twosome, basically for the past 2-3 years now, shakes up a lot of people's expectations, including ours. We knew that this team would be good, but did we think that in year 3, DeSoto, Duncanville good? I didn't expect that. And maybe that's, and again, that's not a slight to Coach Gates or North Crowley, but that just shows the expedited track that they've been on, that all of a sudden they're right there.
Absolutely. And we know that last year DeSoto beat Duncanville. Well, you've got to remember when the classification splits comes, it is all but assured that Duncanville and North Crowley will both end up in that 6A Division I, while DeSoto will 100% fall down to 6A Division II because
they should have been 5A Division I.
And then they chose to opt up into that. So Duncanville is watching this game right now with a little bit of sweat beads dripping down their face, as much as they can, being, Duncanville.
Sure.
All right, well, this is not the only game with touchdowns abound. Let's go ahead and dive into some of our other spotlight games here and see what is shaking up across the Lone Star State. We take you down to the 512 Cavalier Stadium down there. Lake Travis with the ball up against Rockwall. Lake Travis finally taking the lead here. Can they expand on that?
Chasten Ditta winding back. Oh, look at that throw. Beautiful. Right there on the money. Look, all of a sudden, double-digit lead here for Lake Travis. Oh, excuse me, here it is. This is the replay of it. Double-digit lead now for Lake Travis. This is a tough place to play. Much less come back in now, trailing by 10, looking to go up 11.
Yeah, and I I think one of the underrated things there, did you see the block that their running back put on?
Yeah.
When you can start getting into operating like that and you have some of those key players not worried about getting in there and being physical up against a very big defensive front from Rockwall, that's a Hank Carter coached ball club right there.
Oh.
All right, so Lake Travis takes the lead there. 28-17, we bounce back up to the DFW. Aledo, Lancaster trying to cut the deficit here. Will hand off the ball. Stiff arm. I love me a good stiff arm. And then he barrels his way into the end zone. How about that for the Tigers?
Ooh, how about that run right there? Lancaster saying, we're not going away, all right? We're trailing. Leon Paul's club does not back down easily, as we see him hyping himself up as well after that touchdown.
He should be hyping himself up after that one. I'm telling you, dude, there is nothing on the face of this earth that gets me more fired up than a good stiff arm.
Yeah.
I wasn't ever able to play football like this, but if
Ooh,
I
look
would,
at the moves here.
Goodness, big
Hold on,
boy.
we cut right here. We cut right to the action.
Yeah, and you gotta warn us when that thing's coming
Look
the
at that.
train.
Oh my goodness.
Ooga, he made it in
Pasadena
there.
Memorial switching over. Brand new game, by the way, of course. As Tepper mentioned earlier, Tepper's not here, so I will do it. If you want to watch any of these games without our talking, you just want to watch all the goods of Pasadena Memorial and Porter, you can go to TexanLive.com or TexasFootball.com/subscribe. But to go right to the action, TexanLive.com, watch this game in full. Or if you want to watch us, you want to watch this tomorrow, you can do that because all these games stay up on demand.
They sure do. Speaking of other games across the state, let's dive into Class 4A as we check into some score updates across the Lone Star State. Starting off with 4A Division II, Glenrose in a fist fight against Gatesville. That one, Belleville having their way with Stafford. Okay,
Hello.
Porcupines. Okay, Porcupines.
Springtown.
Springtown putting it on the Steers of Graham.
Yeah, how about that? That is a salty one right there. I mean, let's look at some other salty scores. Pleasant Grove trailing Parrish right now. That's another one that's kind of a divisional classification. I don't say mismatch. What's the wrong word? Jump. I guess, for Pleasant Grove.
And what a stylistic clash there. Paris is the
too.
crazy man in the fight, and
Yeah.
they're winning.
Yeah, basically, yeah, they're the crazy guy you see on the street when you're walking home. He's like, I don't want to walk near that guy. Wimberley.
I say that about you.
You know what? That's fair. Wimberley taking care of business against Fredericksburg. Shout out the Battlin' Billies, one of the best mascots in the Lone Star State. And then Sinton down there in the Coastal Bend taking care of business, but also still within striking distance. Port Lavaca Calhoun, the Sand Crabs, within a touchdown of Sinton.
All right, up to 4A Division I we go. Holy Stephen Doty and Stephenville. Oh, Matt Stepp. Poor Matt Stepp. His E-Block Bulldogs not having a good time there. Salina putting it on Waco La Vega. This, my friend, this is a shocking score. Not from the fact that Salina, yes, we know, obviously they're number 4 in the state, but after their week 1 game, Waco La Vega was one that we talked about going, okay, they might be back. Are we looking at a authentic Don Hyde school? Salina is just running all over them.
Yeah, that's not a team that you would typically see this lopsided of a score with La Vega. If it is a lopsided score, it's something in the 20s, right? It's like maybe 20-3 or something. You don't run away with a game offensively against a Don Hyde squad, but credit to Salina.
Absolutely. Wall punching up pretty big there against Brownwood. They're having their way. Frisco, Panther Creek putting it on. Carter Kilgore getting stuff done. We saw them beat Carthage last week. They're running East Texas right now. And then how about that? The Cowboys of Edna.
Oh my goodness.
Taking on Bay City, the 9th ranked team there, not to mention Edna punching up
I was about to say,
classification.
that's a punch up for Edna, and they're taking care of business for, by the way, that's a great Black Cat squad in Bay City. Had a great year last year. Of course, they lost somebody like Carlon Jones on the defensive side, but they still returned quite a bit, as you see, obviously a top 10 team. So Edna punching up and punching out as well.
This is me looking in the camera and saying that Edna's a good football team. I just want to put that on wax so everybody understands that Edna is a good football team, and I understand that, okay, Cowboys? All right, let's get going. We have touchdowns abound. We'll dive into the action here. I believe we're heading out to Crowley. They're taking on North Shore, the sleeping giant. Crowley with the ball, scrambling around the pocket and drops the dime into the back of the end zone. What an impressive throw there with really good coverage coming from the safety there.
Caleb Williams is a guy you're going to have to know a lot about. Last week, I believe he had 200 yards passing and 200 yards rushing on the ground. He is going to be everything for this Crowley team that we already expect to be pretty dang good.
Yeah, I mean, they're cutting down the lean here. Okay, this is the time to get it going here in the fourth quarter. 7:45 left to be there. Up next in the DFW, we stay kind of actually. It's in Austin, but they're playing
Involving
DFW.
a DFW.
The ball is in the hands of the DFW right now as Rockwall, Landon Locke.
Oh, what a throw. Oh, my gosh.
My goodness, right in the breadbasket.
That is a rope. Off his back foot, too. That was all arm. There was no lower body into that. That was all arm talent from Landon Locke.
Absolutely. We'll get the replay on this one. I mean, take a look. No, we won't. You know why? Because there's more scoring going on from other guys in orange helmets, and that would be the Lancaster Tigers as they air it out.
Oh, my goodness. Leon Paul saying, what did I say? We're not backing down.
He said, yo, my boy Ish is in there saying that we're not backing down. Y'all show up for him.
I was about to say, we got to show that he's smarter than you may think.
Well, I'm not going to say that.
Hey, listen,
but,
Leon Paul has my back, is what
okay.
I'm trying to say.
Well, what Leon Paul does, I'm still out on me. But there we go. Another miraculous touchdown there from the Lancaster Tigers, who all of a sudden they're waking up in the third quarter. Aledo, 2 back-to-back scores allowed. We'll see if they can continue to cut down that deficit out there in Parker County.
Back-to-back close games heading late for Aledo. This is not something you always see. Even if they play big competition like last week against Geyer, not something you always see is the first 2 weeks Aledo getting punched in the face a little bit.
Absolutely. Cutting that down to a 1-score game. Leon Paul is back and ready to party. All right, speaking of being ready to party, we've got more action.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. Okay, North Crowley, 29, DeSoto, 34. Looks to me that North Crowley has the ball here. Trying to cut down this lead. Early on in the third quarter, remember this one was delayed because of a lightning delay. Didn't kick off until about 48 minutes after the original 7 o'clock start time. And look at that defensive front from DeSoto, man. They are some big old nasties down there.
Yeah, it's Cornelius Warren on the carry, and he's going to UNLV, so you know he's not easy to take down. So DeSoto doing a great job of containing him on that one. And, of course, this DeSoto defense led by Keelan Abrams, number 15, going to TCU. I was trying to find where he was on that play, but I mean, both these teams, as we talked about, if you're a recruiting fan, if you're a college football fan, you're going to see about half these guys for the next 4 years playing somewhere across the country.
We got trips out left.
See Jemerson drop a dime here potentially.
Trips out left in the crossing route. No!
Gotta get that catch. A little bit behind. Jemerson was a little bit behind on the throw, but that's still one that if I'm a receiver, I'm mad at myself for not catching.
Yeah, that one on the slant route there, they ran trips out and just couldn't get it done. A really well played design with the fly route on the end.
Sure, 100%.
All right, so there you go. Ishmael, how about we head out west? And when I mean out west, I'm talking way out west.
I was about to say, I'm going to dare you to go way out west.
Way out west?
Way out. How far west can we go?
How about Bushland and Canadian?
Whew.
It's like west and north.
We
like directions. This is a directional-based show. To the highlights we go. And we will start off here, opening half with 2 touchdown lead. Bushland punching it in from 5 yards out to extend their lead. However, Canadian, they never go away. Quarterback power to get on in there. Bushland back. They're going to punt it.
Uh-oh, special teams.
Fair catch hits the ground.
Oh, no.
They're fighting for the ball. Who will it be? Bushland. Bushland gets it back. Our guy revs up, dropping it into the end zone. Absolute dime. How about that? We knew that one would be fun. And 2, what an outstanding performance from Bushland so far. We talk a lot about, is it going to be Canadian and Gunner round 8 million in the state semifinals? Bushland, a team to keep an eye out there in Region 1. All right, we're fast-paced. We're going around the state. Let's check out some 5A scores. We'll start off here with 5A Division 2. Ishmael, what is piquing your attention with this one?
Let's check out 5A Division 2 scores. I mean, P&G, reigning champs, taking care of business against Beaumont United down there in East Texas. Alamo Heights, Michael Terry taking care of business against San Antonio Churchill. I mean, I'm trying to look right here. Looks like everybody's kind of taking care of their own business. Texas High taking on the private school, Argyle Liberty Christian, I believe, is fighting Jason Wittens over there, 33-17. Argyle, of course, showing that 5A is still no issue for the perennial 4A power, even 2 realignments later over Midlothian Heritage, 21-14. Seguin, couldn't handle Corpus Christi Miller, 59-6. Corpus Christi Miller still.
Miller's on a tear.
Whew, they really, really are. And then, of course, Lubbock Cooper handling Lubbock Coronado 45-17. Let's see if we got some 5A D1 scores going on here.
I believe we do as we take a look. A dogfight there in Dallas. Highland Park only up by a score on Lovejoy. College Station taking care of business there. Richland, we're high on the Royals. That is a very, very, very good score against a good Colleyville Heritage squad.
Oh, 100%. How about let's go to San Antonio. San Antonio Brennan. Of course, this is a classification jump for Smithson Valley, I believe. Yes, Brennan is a 6A. But still, Smithson Valley played in a state championship last year. This is still a high profile program that's struggling a little bit. Be a great win for San Antonio Brennan despite the class jump for Smithson Valley. Forney, of course, by the way, Tepper had a great column today about some of the best high school football taking place in that College Station area. Right now, they're struggling with Forney.
Yeah, we see you, Jeff Fleener.
Yeah,
we see what you're
Jeff
doing.
Fleener's
That's
over there.
a long road trip down there, too. Very long road trip to get down there staying in the same classification. No, actually, Forney is a 6A program now. They moved up that District 7 in 5A Division 1, got completely blown up with Longview going up, Forney going up, Lancaster going up. You can see a couple of those teams happening now. Well, we are into the thick of it here on Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight. Want to remind you real quick before we dive right back into game action that if you like what you're seeing with those games, just because we'll be hopping off air at 10 p.m. doesn't mean all the games are done. TexanLive.com/subscribe. Go on there and go check out some of that. Also, if you're at a game, please put down your scores in the Dave Campbell's Football Friday app so that way we can keep updating you with all these scores across the Lone Star State. Ishmael, into more games.
Let's do it.
Into the games we go, because that's why you join us here on Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight. Let's see where we head next.
Lancaster and Aledo. Highlights abound in this one. It's the Racing Guillory stiff arm there. Down to the left. Bounces off his tackler. Oh, look at that. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, he stiff-armed him into another zip code.
That's a factor back slap, I believe is what they used to call that. And he's into the end zone. Oh, my goodness.
Woo. That is just mean.
That's just a factor back slap where he's like, get off me, get off.
Not today, son. Sit down, said Racing Guillory, as just when Lancaster was making their drive up to see if they could cut down that score. Here comes Aledo. You put the ball in the hands of Racing Guillory and you've got nothing to worry about. All right, a touchdown there for a DFW program. I think another touchdown for a DFW program as we go back out to North Crowley and DeSoto. North Crowley.
It is a touchdown for a DFW program here.
Well, yeah, because they're both DFW. You're funny. And there goes North Crowley. How about that? We are getting spicy.
Cornelius Warren, the UNLV commit at running back. All of a sudden, okay, what do you got? All of a sudden, Keldon Ryan in a situation that DJ Bailey wasn't in many of last year, which is, hey, by the way, we're trailing late. We're going to have to put the game on your shoulders. Or are you still calm because it's still third quarter? Or you say, hey, Tiger Ryden, we're going to have you a little bit, right? They have so many weapons. Who do you kind of turn the keys to? Or is it still business as usual?
They're going for it on the two-point conversion, and he's in.
Goodness, that's
How
Jemerson.
about that, Ray Gates?
Oh, my goodness. He is aggressive today, getting the 3-point lead to make it a field goal game, knowing that DeSoto needs to nothing can take the lead now. They can only tie with a field goal. They have to drive the whole length of the field to take a lead.
I love the 2-point conversion call there. Ray Gates is saying, no, we're playing the #1 team in the state. We're leaving nothing back. A gutsy call there from our barbecue aficionado. As we head back down south, Silsbee and Little Cypress Mauriceville. Haven't talked a whole lot about this one, but a very good matchup. I think Silsbee definitely the favorite coming into this game, but the big headline for the Tigers is, what is this team's identity without their superstar player?
Yeah, I mean, look, you lose a guy like Draylon Miller, who, by the way, has played quite a bit for Colorado, so they were basically playing with a D1 athlete last year. But you bring back quarterback Michael Moshier, who was part of that offense last year. And you turn the offense over to him, in my opinion. You have somebody like him, I think was 10 of 18 for 194 last week. They tried to establish the running game a little bit with Gary Farr. He struggled a little bit. I believe it was 2-3 yards a carry. But you have a veteran team, and you have leaders like Moshier coming back. You have defensive players who I think is going to be the calling card for the Silsbee team the next 2 years. You have Matson Morris, Kyler Smith, double-digit tackle guys as juniors coming back next year as senior. So I think you have Moshier leading the offense. I don't think that changes. Last year, of course, it was Miller, but Moshier was still throwing in the ball. Now you look to the defensive side for maybe when times get tough, the offense is struggling a little bit. Hey, defense, go make a play, right? Hey, guys, we need you to step up a little bit. Hey, we're struggling to score. Make sure they don't score. So I would say that the identity changes obviously in terms of the number or the names on the back, but I mean, it's just part of the natural growth of programs. Like Silsbee doesn't get a Draylon Miller every single year, right? And so you know if you're Randy Smith, it's like, okay, I have to look to the future eventually because he's not going to be here. And I think now the program is set up to take that step on a little bit easier.
Well, and you look on the other side of the ball there when we were talking about Little Cypress Mauriceville, a program that was resurrected by Eric Peavy when he came over 4 years ago. They took them from 1-9 to 11-1 just in a season. Our 4A Division I Coach of the Year back then, and that was in 2021. 2 abysmal 6-5 years trying to get back to it. But he's a program builder, and don't turn your head on this LCM squad. This was a great off-season matchup, or a non-district matchup, rather. We're totally in season. It ain't off-season, baby. We're in it. But excited to watch what they do. All right, one more classification to get to for scores across the state, and it's the big dogs. Let's check out 6A and see what we're working with here. Okay, Sock, talk about not getting blown out 2 weeks in a row.
That is the halftime score, I believe. And yeah, how about Sock? They faced North Shore week 1. Take one on the chin. They say, you know what? All right, that got us ready. The face is softened a little bit, and now the hook doesn't hurt as much when Duncanville throws it. That's incredible. So as we see, of course, North Shore and Crowley facing off, as you see on Texan Live. South Lake Carroll and Hebron. South Lake Carroll's coming out looking really, really good to start the season. Westlake taking on our boys from the Valley, San Benito.
I love this game. I don't care what the score is. I love more than anything that our friends down there in San Benito made the drive up and said, yeah, we'll pay you. Absolutely.
Let's go, baby.
And then very interested in the Spring Westfield Fort Bend Hightower game, and a very close one there. Spring Westfield, of course, for the first time in a long time, not under the direction of Coach Matt Meekins down there, but excited to see what they bring, and the Hurricanes aren't letting them off easy.
Yeah, and then of course we brought in Matt Stepp for Coppell and Waxahachie. Waxahachie still holding on to that 14-0 lead. That one's going to be, as we mentioned, that one's going to be a little bit of a head turner if that one stays the same.
So there you go, our updates from 6A. We continue on into game action here on Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight. We hope you're having as much fun as we are. Obviously some very, very good games going on across the state, one of which in the air. What a grab by the Lake Travis wide receiver.
How about that? Just tuning right back into the action.
That's what we do here. All right, here we go. I think we get to see the replay of that throw here. Chasten Dida just absolutely letting this one air out.
Yeah, that is a gorgeous throw.
Great job from the receiver too, high pointing the ball. I mean, that was peak with the safety just right there on him.
Great coverage on him. As you see, Chasten Dida pulling it right there, getting the outside. Good little stiff arm right there.
I am so here for all these stiff arms.
I was about to say, these are some angry stiff arms too. It's like there's something on them. It's not just like stay away from me. It's like get back.
Quad box. Before I get too hyped about the quad box, we weren't able to put this up for the end of the game.
Okay.
For the second time in 2 back-to-back seasons, Atascocita has defeated the Katy Tigers by an astounding 41-24 score. As our friend Gavin Moritz down at Texan Live would say, it's Craig time, ladies and gentlemen. Coach Craig Stump doing what someone has not done since, when did you say?
It was, so North Shore was the last team to do it, right, in 18-19, I believe. But before that, other than North Shore, who of course went on to win a state championship, since 2010, Cedar Hill's the only other team coached by Joey McGuire. By the way, fun fact, both Joey McGuire and John Kay coach in college now. So nobody in the high school ranks has done this to Katy until Craig Stump now. So an incredible feat from Atascocita just a year after beating him for the first time. That's, I mean, I don't want to say, look, I'm not going to go as far as say, like, oh, is there a seat change in the Houston Air? Look, he's still Gary Joseph, right? Still Katy. But every year we wonder, when's the year for Atascocita going to break through?
And
right?
we watched Umbral Summer Creek do it last year. We were shocked that someone made it to state before Atascocita.
Sure. And is this the year, right? They did the thing that they did last year, again, in better fashion. Is this the year? Is Carde Mack the guy that they needed to, right? That they need to get to that to that next level.
And of course, the real play will come when they play Galena Park North Shore, as they have year in and year out. They've lost to North Shore 3 out of the last 4 years in the regional finals. Can they finally get over the hump?
Katy's was their bugaboo. Now it's North Shore. You climb one mountain and you see the other of what we, if you're a hiker out there, you know the false peak. Right, and you're like, oh, I made it, and you look, it's like, oh, there's a bigger one. Oh, come on.
How about this? The Marcus Marauders and a team that I believe our producer, Miss Mallory Hartley, is screaming in my ear, K-I-C-K-E-M, kick 'em, Colts, kick 'em. She is a Arlington High School grad, so no surprise here that we're seeing this, but a very good showing from Marcus.
Yeah, 100%. This is a Marcus team that I've been very fascinated by. Is Lil Nussmeier, if you saw the game on Monday night, LSU and Florida State, his older brother, Garrett Nussmeier, playing quarterback for LSU. A lot of talk. That little Nussmeier is a little better.
A little better. And you know, there is nothing that fires up a little brother or younger sibling more than having to go to all of those games, all of those practices. You're lugging around.
Remember your brother? Oh, your brother was pretty good, right?
And he was like, hi, I'm here now. But yeah, an incredible showing there from what looks to be Choctaw Stadium there in Arlington.
Yeah, that is an awesome showing for them because he's only a sophomore. And so he has plenty of games to play. So if this is the beginning for him, watch out for Marcus again.
And a false start called there on Marcus. So
a little too excited. A little too excited.
Looks like we are finishing up down here. Silsbee will take home the win against Little Cypress Mauriceville, 27-14. A good showing out there. Looks like Silsbee recovered a fumble there at the end to send that one off. We look back up there, Pasadena Memorial, just down to Porter, and then Rockwall and Lake Travis duking it out here, 31-26. Still in the third quarter, a 7:30 kick down at Cavalier Stadium for this one. So we're bouncing around Lancaster. Aledo, and the Aledo train is still rolling.
Back one more thing on Silsbee. We talked about Willis at the beginning, losing DJ Lagway. Talked about Silsbee losing Drayla Miller. Both teams 2-0 to start the year, right? You lose 5-star players, according to Greg Powers at DCTF, they were both 5-star players, and they're still 2-0. And so, look, programs, if they are built well, are more than just one player, even if those players happen to be some of the best players in those programs' histories.
All right, so you're checking in there as Pasadena Memorial goes up and gets the score there. So from one Houston game to another, let's head on out to Joe Willis and his Crosby Cougars taking on the newest program in Alvin ISD in the Iowa Colony Pioneers. So we will start off with Crosby starting the fourth. And here we go. They were able to get a quick score there. Next drive, Iowa Colony seals off a 75-yard drive with the dime in the very tip top of the end zone. Crosby driving late. They're going to throw up a prayer. Will it hit? No! Intercepted by Iowa Colony to seal a 24-point victory and a shutout for the Pioneers. How about that? And an incredible showing by what we said, the youngest program in Alvin ISD. They started off last year, had an incredible playoff run, really kind of came out of nowhere with a group of nothing more than freshmen and sophomores. Now a year older and still continuing to prove. Keep an eye on that defense, man. It's one of the best defenses in the state.
Yeah, it's weird for me seeing these new schools pop up, and within a year or two, they're right there, right? Pato winning a state championship really early. Shadow Creek winning, of course, in that Alvin ISD area.
It's almost like they had a blueprint.
It's almost like they had a blueprint or
Thanks,
something.
Brad Butler.
Yeah, but it goes to show that these areas, just because you see a new school, right? They're popping up in these areas for a reason. It's because there's a lot of people moving there, which means there's a lot of talent to go around. And if you're Kirk Martin, you can hear it's like, oh, come on. Like,
Not another one.
I'm here to help build Manville back up to where I was, and you're telling me there's two schools here. Iowa Colony, don't be surprised if they're playing deep in November this year, definitely probably next year, this is a team that's, like Pickle says, on the rise, and you shouldn't be surprised to see them come up a lot more this season.
Not at all. The game action continues here on Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight as we head back out to North Crowley and DeSoto. An absolute dogfight happening. 41-37, one-score game here in the third quarter, and you can just see the power that these two teams are running with.
Oh my God, 37-40. Look, first of all, this is also something you typically don't see when you get to this level, are shootouts at this level, right? You think of Duncanville North Shore as like 35-24, right? You think of these Duncanville, DeSoto, 21-14. It's very defensive, very physical, but these two teams are just airing it out. See Chris Jemerson rolling out to the right. He can get a ball out of there, smartly throws it away. That was a man on the sidelines, but that is going to fall incomplete. But these two offenses are just absolutely going for it. Against, by the way, defenses that are star-studded, right? We talked about Kellen Ryan, we talked about Chris Jemerson, but both these defenses have elite talent. So the fact that North Crowley's hanging 37, DeSoto's hanging 41. By the way, it's still the third quarter, so they may hit in the 50s by the time we're done with this. This shows the offensive talent. And honestly, I'm going to give a shout out to the offensive coordinators as well. They studied their butts off, knowing what both these defenses are capable of and knowing how to exploit it.
A player I really want to point out here for the North Crowley defense. I know they're on offense right now, but hang with me. We're talking about defense. Ooh, speaking of
there's
defense,
a defensive play right there. Yeah, empty set for Chris Jemerson to set up a screen, and DeSoto said, "Nope, we got this one."
But a really big addition to the North Crowley defense coming in from junior quarterback Drayden Fulbright. So he's a Tulsa commit, transferred in from Wayne County, Georgia. So first team selection as a sophomore out of their Region 3 4A for whatever that means, whatever scale that we're looking at there. But a regional qualifier in the 200-meter dash. It's not like there's a bunch of slow people walking around Georgia. So that was a big addition on top of course, their big linebacker Jonathan Cunningham, the leader of the defense, as Ray Gates would say. But that's been huge. Oh, look, we have mini box.
Mini box. Well, that's a new feature. As we see DeSoto come up with a big third down stop on 3rd and long. Sideline fired up for the Eagles as they get a big stop because Crowley, of course, trailing, needed that one to convert. They're going to punt it away. As you see the mini box pop up with Lancaster Aledo. Aledo taking back their double-digit lead. But Lancaster crossing midfield now. Still trying to narrow that lead, get that back down to single digits.
I mean, heck, if they scored as fast as they did back-to-back to open up the third quarter, it's not like it's over.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Now, I think Racine Guillory will have me, chewing on my words here when they get the ball back. But really, realistically, if they do score that fast, Lake Travis, Chaston Ditta airing it out for another one. Deja vu, put the brakes on.
Oh, that is a beautiful throw, beautiful move.
That literally was basically the exact same throw that we just saw him make on their previous drive.
I was just about to say, I thought that was the same play. I was like, oh, look at this highlight again.
Did we accidentally rewind the game in there? What are we doing? No, Ditta just says, hey, 2 times.
Yep.
Man,
I love this little mini box feature we got going on.
Mini box rocks.
Yeah.
The mini box.
The mini box?
If
you're in France, the mini box.
For any Austin Powers reference out there, the mini box.
As we see Lake Travis looking to put a stamp, or I guess not a stamp, still third quarter.
Lancaster winding up. Oh, was it picked by Aledo?
Might have been picked. That is a pick. Yeah, ref is signaling.
Holy cow.
Woo, buddy. Aledo looking to strangle this one.
Okay, I get it. I did the thing where I said they could score, and then Aledo said,
no, they can't.
Shut up, Pickle.
No, they can't. Don't you know how this game works?
So why is it that Leon Paul makes you look smart, and then I get this? I guess it's just Robbie Jones making me look dumb.
I was about to say, Robbie Jones is like, yeah, no.
Robbie Jones has made a lot of people look dumb. He's a very nice man. I'm not saying that in a bad way.
That's very fair. Yeah, Aledo, I mean, honestly, this may be, especially after last week, we can't underestimate how important this game, as we go to a commercial, looks like. We can't underestimate how big of a win this will be for Aledo, because starting off 0-2, that's almost unheard of if you're
really
Aledo. And if you're Robbie Jones, you're like, I can't let the standard fall like that.
Stinking Jemerson, what a catch.
No way. Are we serious?
How about
Quentin Gibson on the catch, draped completely by a defender.
That is North Crowley written across that boy's chest.
3 touchdowns last week for Gibson. He said, let me get one better this week. As we see Jemerson, the quarterback, UNT commit. My goodness.
Go Mean Green.
Here's something about his
Oh, my goodness. Mallory Hartley, our producer, gave me the loudest caw in my ear I've ever heard. That's the spirit.
Look, Chris Jemerson is a very fascinating prospect because he was offered by power schools, but not at quarterback. And North Texas and a couple other schools says, why isn't any team taking a chance at this kid at quarterback? Is he the biggest kid? No. Does he have the biggest arm? No. But he is a gamer. He has a good arm.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be, somebody who's 6'5" and can throw the ball 70 yards, but he's somebody worth taking a shot on. And North Texas said, yeah, come play quarterback and stay home, man.
When has North Texas ever taken a shot on a very small quarterback?
Never worked.
That it's never worked.
Yeah, never worked out. Never worked out. Shout out Mason Fine.
Eric Morris better be, if it's allowed, I don't know where we're at in the recruiting cycle, but if Eric Morris isn't calling that man after this game, something is wrong. We take a look now at a different game right outside of the greater Houston
Shout out Hudson
area.
Standish and Liberty.
Hudson Standish is wanting his Liberty Panthers to score desperately on this drive as they take on Splendora. We bring up the mini box one more time over here. Lake Travis on the goal line. Chaston did it in the pocket, gonna hand it off. No, quarterback keeper, and in he goes to advance their score and the lead against Rockwall.
Liberty here, look. Liberty under a new head coach trying to make a big statement win, trying to cross midfield here against Splendora. Liberty, a program that struggled the past couple years, trying to get back in the postseason.
Equally as important to the football being played on this, remind me what the names of the Liberty mascots are. Do you remember Miss Panther or?
Oh gosh, no.
Hudson is screaming at the TV right now.
He's like, oh my gosh.
If you know the names of the ever so famous Liberty mascots, there's a boy panther and a girl panther.
Yes. They have formal names.
Sir and Madam.
We apologize to both Panthers.
We're gonna figure this out, and we're gonna be better next time. Another battle of the cats, though. No,
this game I still can't get over. By the way, look at Bryson Washington just walk. Numbers big 70. You can just see him from here.
What is he,
76?
6'8"?
Just 6'8" left tackle. If you're wondering which one he is, he's the big one. He's the one that you see from here at left tackle. As DeSoto looks to get the lead back. Oh, what a hit! Oh,
sit down, son.
He read that screen so well.
Sit
down. Oh my goodness! I believe that was Booby Feaster who took the hit.
I don't know if anyone in Texas high school football has ever hit Booby Feaster that hard.
I am gonna look at the roster right now because that deserves a shout out. I believe that was number 4 for North Crowley. I need to give a shout out to him because that is a stick. That was. I believe that was Drayden Fulbright. I believe.
There it is, the move in from Georgia that we were just talking about. I told you he added so much to that defense. As we take a look at the poor guy that just received that gargantuan
This
hit.
puts the hit in context.
Yes.
This is who got hit.
Yeah, look at this. Number 1 overall prospect in Texas in the class of 2027. 45 different offers. We have seen him since he was a freshman. This kid is something special, which is why we reacted to that hit the way we do, because that guy does not get hit in that way.
He is one of the best talents you will ever see. He was one of the best talents you've seen, regardless of what classification. When he was a freshman last year, you saw him and you're like, who's that 17-year-old out there playing wide receiver? He's like, oh no, he's 14.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
No, that is a grown man.
Yeah, and by the way, you see some kids get held back, right, when they're younger and blah blah. No, he is a true sophomore, and he is built like a senior. And so yeah, him getting stuck like that is nuts. As we see Lancaster trying to make something of it. Did he tiptoe in? I think he got in. Yes, he did.
There he is.
There we go. Trying to get something going again. That was, I don't have a number on that. I was trying to find a number.
88.
Lancaster's on their roster does not have an 88. So I will shout out the number 88 and say that was a good little job tiptoeing to the end zone to close the gap again.
All right, we've hit that 10 o'clock hour, but guess what? We're going into extra innings here. Okay,
Overtime.
We're going into overtime. We're going to give you a little bit more of us yapping, what the people want.
I'm not leaving.
I'm not leaving.
Let's see a punt from Rockwall. Lake Travis rolls in the end zone. Looks like Lake Travis has a chance to really put their foot down on this one here. On this
Another quick score update out from East Texas. Chapel Hill up on Gilmer, 33-29. You want to talk about a complete 180 from what they did last year. That game ended last year 73-55.
Oh, yeah,
okay,
that's a good
it
point.
was a knockdown shootout game. This time, obviously, we're seeing defense, which let's talk about. I know that Gilmer's down, but let's talk about the Gilmer defense. Last year, we talked, and Greg Tepper especially, who has gone into the abyss, by the way, talked over and over and over and over again about Gilmer's defense being a fault, a liability to their state championship run, which they completed. If they have a defense this year.
Eventually you thought that was going to bite them, and eventually it didn't. But all season long, as you mentioned, kept giving up high scores, kept giving up a lot of numbers. Did they have enough? Turns out they turned it on when they need to. But this year, like you were saying, stepping it up a level.
Absolutely, and that's interesting to see, too, in the aspect of the quarterback position at Gilmer. They now have Brady McCown, who came from Jacksonville, a long line of football blood. Take a look at this. Obviously, we'll start let's read backwards here and go from youngest to oldest. So Brady, obviously the youngest, now the quarterback for Gilmer. His brother Owen McCown at UTSA, currently playing for Jeff Traylor's squad. Uncle Randy was the Texas A&M quarterback from 95 to 99. Uncle Luke, NFL quarterback for a bunch of years. My goodness. Obviously finishing his career there with the Dallas Cowboys, we them boys. And then his father, a very successful NFL quarterback from 02 to 18, now the quarterbacks coach for the Minnesota Vikings.
There you go. Yeah, his name will be in head coaching circles very soon. Josh McCown, a very respected backup for his whole career, basically, and basically went right into coaching after he retired. But Brady McCown, as we know, McCown's and Gilmer, Traylor, right? There's a big lineage there. There's a big friendship. There's a big camaraderie between obviously Traylor and the McCowns, and obviously Traylor and Gilmer, Gilmer and the McClowns, Gilmer and Traylor. You know, there's so many. There's like a nice triangle of support that just makes sense, right? It makes sense that eventually it leads to Brady McCown starting at Gilmer.
Absolutely. So very interested to see what that one will end up. Another score update for you coming in final from Crowley ISD Stadium. North Shore will defeat the Crowley Eagles 28-13. But I just want to say that is a really, really good showing from Carlos Lynn and his Crowley Eagles.
Yeah, they're in their second year there. Carlos Lynn, who, again, people were wondering, he's like, oh, man, that Cedar Hill program fell off after, he still got it, man. He is still one of the best coaches in the state, one of the best coaches in DFW, turning around Crowley quickly. Caleb Williams, if you do not know the name by now, learn it, because he's going to be one of the best players to watch, most exciting players to watch, as we see DeSoto trying to get into the red zone here. They're all just short of the 30. It looks like we're going to get a timeout there.
And I want to shout out down here, we've got a new addition, I believe, coming out of Rhodes Stadium, considering Katy was playing in Legacy Stadium.
Yeah.
So if it's one, it's not one, it's the other.
Yes.
Maximum Bears happening down there, 41-24 over Katy Tompkins.
Shout out Cy Bridgeland.
We're all about Maximum Bears on this show.
Maximum Bears, baby. We were the originators of Maximum Bears.
Tommy Yarish, I will give credit to that.
Fine, just because I like Tommy.
we like Tommy Yarish around these parts, but interesting to see Bridgeland really taking care of Katy Tompkins there.
Ditta getting through on the top right corner there, weaving through the Rockwall defense. And Lake Travis taking their sweet time, knowing that they got this one. If they can just salt this one away, they got it in the bag.
I want to go back for just a second here, and we were talking about, just to wrap up our conversation on Gilmer from just a little bit ago. Obviously, you saw the Alan Metzel feature that we showed earlier, just an incredible story of his journey from coaching to being a pastor of the church and everything. Wanted to highlight a quick article that we do have on TexasFootball.com. If you're joining us, we're obviously Dave Campbell's Texan Live, but with a subscription, you also get full access to Dave Campbell's Texas Football. And TexasFootball.com, our very own Carter Yates wrote an incredible article. He actually went out to Gilmer, spent the weekend out there, went and listened to a sermon given by, at that moment, Pastor Metzel,
Yes.
or Reverend Metzel, whichever one. And so if you want to scan that QR code, that'll take you exactly to the link of the article for Gilmer coach Alan Metzel, Faith is a Special Inheritance. So Chapel in the Woods out there is the church, a really, really good read. So if you missed that, scan that QR code on your screen right now. We'll leave it up here for just a second. But truly just an incredible human being and making difference in lives in a lot more ways than just on the football field.
I believe the timing of that was very important to do because I believe that was around Father's Day.
Yes.
Which of course he talked about how his father passed away and how it means so much to take over that chapel for him. So that's kind of the significance of that particular article, was that Carter went to his Father's Day sermon and kind of documented that, and of course documented his whole journey, as you saw Aaron so expertly navigate through that interview as well.
Absolutely. A remarkable tale there. So I think that'll about do it for us. The games are starting to wrap up. Obviously, a couple of those games just now in the third quarter. If you're interested in watching the DeSoto North Crowley game, go ahead at TexanLive.com/subscribe. It gives you the full year's experience of that. Any parting thoughts for our viewers that have miraculously made it this long of us talking?
I'll give a shout out. We had a couple of people online giving some on YouTube. I believe we had a watcher from Malaysia. Shout out Jerry Massey. Good morning, all from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
How about that?
So that's pretty awesome.
Texas, and that's the impact that Texas high school football has. People care, not just in
Exactly.
Texas, not just in the U.S., in Malaysia.
Yeah, exactly. Keith Kerr, Corpus Christi Miller scheduling. This is a lot to bite off as we see a lot of DeSoto, North Crowley, track meet, things like that. A lot of comments about that. And Waxahachie from Gabe Flores. Waxahachie, I think you know him. Waxahachie ain't no slouch. So there's a couple of
he
shout-outs
knows the
out
hatch
there.
well down there.
There you go.
A Burleson boy himself. We did not check in on Burleson, but shout out Gabe Flores in the comments. All right, that will do it for us for Dave Campbell's Texas football tonight for week 2. We hope that you will join us again next Friday. We're here every stinking Friday, 7:30 to 10, bringing you the best game analysis that you can find. Go ahead, mash that subscribe button. Let's all go finish up DeSoto and North Crowley because we're going to be watching as well. We'll catch you next week on Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight.